Hey, what's up, everybody? How are you? This is Omar. Today's we're gonna go over the Stalker, the cross examination of Arias. What's that her name? Jodie Arias, the Stalker that actually shot her boyfriend in the head one time, stabbed him in the heart one time, and stabbed him 27 more times, and cut his throat twice. And she put this idea that she was innocent. But the reason I give you this is an old trial, but it's fucking exciting, man. When you see this guy, Juan Martinez, go toe to toe with her, she's a very smart person. Anyway, let's go. We're live. You put a little speed on the video, so we want to stay here a long time because I don't want to say my legs gonna hurt for a couple of hours. You know what I'm saying? All right, here she goes. Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Good, Jodie.
And both of you went onto this computer.
Oh,
and
I forgot my.
whatever he was looking at, and you looked at whatever you were going to look at.
Such an idiot. Forgot my headphones. Sorry.
At a friend's house, I think is what you said, right?
Well, there was one thing that happened in between that.
Pardon?
There was one thing that happened in between that.
I understand that you want to tell me about that, but you did drop him off at some point, right?
Yes.
And after you dropped him off, you were supposed to go to work, weren't you?
Yes.
That's what you told us on direct examination.
So the whole idea right now is that Juan Martinez, a prosecutor, is trying to establish her behavior of stalking even before she killed Travis Alexander in Arizona. This is years before. She had this habit of spying on her boyfriends and stalking them. But it's a shame that at the end she killed that guy. Anyway, let's go see.
Right?
That's right.
And after you went to work, and you didn't tell us about anything that was in between there on direct examination, did you?
It's going too fast, right? I don't like that speed, man.
I don't know.
Do you have a problem with your memory? I mean, this was approximately no more than 2 weeks away.
I don't think I have a problem.
But you don't remember things that happened within 2 weeks, do you?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
And in this case, you don't, right?
I don't remember if I gave you the details.
So the answer
or
is
not.
yes or no. Do you remember?
Remember what?
What are we talking about?
We're
Fuck
talking
yeah.
about the incident.
Right. And what specifically of the incident are we talking about?
I'm not sure.
So you're having trouble focusing on what's being asked of you
She's
today?
playing this word game with him.
Having memory problems?
Yes.
So when I asked you about what was going on involving Mr. Juarez, you had no problem at least understanding that we're talking about Mr. Juarez, right?
That's right.
And you had no problem understanding that we were talking about the time that you and he went to the library so that you could get onto the computer and look at the computer, right?
That's right.
And during that time, after you looked at the computer, you were going to go to work, right?
Yes.
And on the way to work, you dropped off Mr. Juarez, wherever it was that you dropped him off, right?
Yes.
And after you dropped him off, you, because of whatever reason, decided to go back to that computer, right?
That's right.
And what you're telling us is that when you went back to that computer, you hit backspace, right?
Yes.
That's what you told us on direct examination, right?
Yes.
And when you hit backspace, you were able to access Bobby's Hotmail account, right?
Yes.
So she was with this old boyfriend she was with, and they went to the library in the old days, and not everybody had computers. So they went to the library. She went on one computer. Everybody checks their email, whatever the Hotmail, whatever that was in those days in 2008, 2009. So the whole idea is she took her boyfriend home. Then she went back to the library, to the computer that he's using, and went to press backspace until she got back to his emails. And then she saw that he was talking to another lady, whatever. So what she does is, this is the whole idea. The prosecutor right now, he's trying to... he is trying to create he's trying to give you an idea that she's a stalker, that she stalks her boyfriend, she spies on her boyfriend, and she's a very, she's not a person, like this. Okay, let's go.
Even though that's password protected, right?
Only if you log out.
So if you don't log out, you can get right back on, right?
As long as you're not logged out, yes.
And so in this particular case, the security there at this library is such that, or was such that, somebody, if they didn't log out, anybody could have come in and looked at what was going on, right?
Yes.
And in this case, that's what you're telling us what happened, right?
Yes, he did not log out.
Okay. And you didn't think of telling him to log out either, right?
By that point, I was on
Yes or
another
no?
computer.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
No.
And with regard to the portion of the Hotmail that you were obviously looking at the Hotmail account, the two of you together, right?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, if you need a password to get into the Hotmail account, and you said that both of you were looking at this account,
I didn't say that.
didn't you tell us that you and he went onto this computer together?
That's right.
And that you were there when he was looking at this computer, right?
Yes.
And you're also telling us that you need a password to look at the Hotmail account, right?
That's right.
So while you're sitting there, and while he puts the password in for his Hotmail account, he accesses or looks at his Hotmail account in front of you, right?
No.
Well, I thought you were sitting next to him.
I was at one point.
And now you're not sitting next to him when he's looking at his Hotmail account, right?
No, I went to my own computer to log into my email.
So the answer is no, you weren't sitting next to him when he was looking at his Hotmail account, right?
Yes.
And you went over to your another computer to look at this point, right?
Yes.
How long were the both of you there at the library?
I don't remember, but it wasn't too long.
And after that is when you dropped him off somewhere, right?
Yes, at his friend's house.
And that's when you had this idea to go back to look at his computer, right?
That's right.
And did you think of asking him what he was doing?
I did ask him.
And you weren't satisfied with his response, were you?
That's right.
You were suspicious, right?
Very.
Very
So you were
fucking evil, man.
Very direct about or focused about what you were going to do, right?
Yes.
You were going to go back to that account, to that library to see what was in that computer, right?
Yes.
Even though that was not your account, right?
Yes.
You, in a sense, were snooping in somebody else's mail, weren't you?
I guess you could put it that way.
No, I want to know how you would put it.
That's not how I would put it.
Ma'am, is there any other way to put it other than that you were looking at things that were not yours to look at?
She was snooping.
Put it a different way.
That evil
You would
whore.
it's not snooping then, even though that was not your account.
That's not how I would put it.
I know that's not how you would put it, but that's what you were doing, right?
It could be looked at that way.
Well, I'm asking how you would look at it. In other words, did you tell Bobby, hey, I'm going to go back and look at your account? You didn't do that, right?
No.
You didn't say to him, and then when I go back to look at this account, I'm going to look to see whether or not there are any letters between you and this woman, right?
No.
And in fact, you didn't tell him, and if I find something, I'm going to print those letters out, right?
Nope.
I didn't know that.
Well, you didn't tell him that any of that before you went there, did you?
No, I did not.
And you did all of this without his permission, right?
Yes.
And so you go back and you tell us that you hit the backspace button and you're then into his Hotmail account, right?
That's right.
So how much time passed between the time he was on there and the time that you came back?
Well, it's Wairika, so not much time. He wasn't far.
Give me a time. And maybe doesn't matter where you are. I just want to know how much time.
Between what and what again?
What are we talking about, man?
You see, what she does is she's played dumb. She's very slick right now. She's very snarky the way she answers. But you're going to see on tomorrow's episode or the next, he's going to break her down in the end. This guy is a fucking professional. This guy is a Terminator. The way he moves, the way he talks. And you have to understand what his plan was. He doesn't want her to talk too much. She likes to babble. So he leaves, let me see, I don't want to be too loud, I don't know. So he gives her answer to a yes or no. But every time she gets stuck on something that she knows she's going to get in trouble with, she's like, what did you say? This is what smart people do, so they get the time to reprocess the question and so come up with a good answer. Not like me, an idiot like me, we'll talk right away. You understand what she's doing? She's fucking smart and evil. She's an evil genius. But look at that lawyer, he don't give a fuck. Look, he's sitting down, all shit.
We're talking about the incident.
Right? And we're talking about where you took him, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about you coming back, right?
Okay.
And we're also talking about the time that he logged in initially, right?
Okay.
And we're talking about how much time elapsed between the time he logged in and the time you came back and hit that backspace button.
I don't know.
Could it have been an hour?
No, it was not an hour.
Can't
I
be.
almost had to be at work like right then.
What's that?
I had to be to work almost right then, so it was only a matter of minutes.
So you decided to, so it's only a matter of minutes. You're saying it was about 5 minutes then?
Objection. Mr. Addresses her testimony.
Restate your question.
How many minutes?
I don't know, I wasn't timing it.
Did you, after that, did you go to work and say, hey, I'm not going to come into work? Or did you go back to the library?
At what point?
at the point that you decide to go back to the library?
To
I went to
snoop.
the library first before going to work.
I'm not asking you that. Did you notify work, ma'am, that you were going to be late?
Objection as to relevance.
So you have to understand, there's a science to this thing. The prosecutor is trying to show that she will stop at everything to spy on her boyfriend or to become, she's a stalker. So he's trying to lay the ground that she didn't even show up to work that day because she was so into in trying to get the information about what her boyfriend was looking at his email. She went back to the library, got the email, got the letters he wrote, printed them, then went back. This is fucking crazy, man.
I notified them that, afterward I did. I didn't notify them that I'd be late. I notified them that I wasn't coming in that night.
See?
In other words, you didn't even have the courtesy to tell them that you weren't going to come in until after this computer issue was
Objection argumentative.
presented.
Sustained.
So you didn't tell them that you weren't going to go to work until after this computer incident, right?
Argumentative relevance. It restated the same question.
Overruled.
After the computer, is that what you asked?
Yes.
Yes, I was too upset.
And how long, did I ask you if you were upset, man?
You don't care.
Is that, no?
No,
Did I ask you upset? Do I give a fuck? You upset or not?
And you started looking at it.
I don't give a fuck.
Space button, right?
yes,
Did it take you directly to his correspondence?
yes,
And you started reading things, right?
yes.
What was the name of this woman?
I don't remember.
And you
Was the
did print
nickname?
out some of the letters, right?
Yes,
And you believe that they were inappropriate, right?
yes,
And they were inappropriate, they didn't have any, they weren't of a sexual nature, were they?
no.
They were just sort of friendly kind of letters, right?
They were beyond friendly.
Uh-oh.
Well, they weren't sexual though, right?
No,
And they didn't indicate that they had met recently or anything like that, right?
they had never met before.
And they had never had any sort of, I don't know, physical contact. The point is they hadn't met before, correct?
Not by that point.
They hadn't met before at the point that you are looking at these letters, right?
Yes, not by that point.
And you then, however, decided that there was a problem here, that he was cheating on you, right?
Yes,
And that sort of validated what you had been feeling, right?
yes, very much.
And so you decided to do something about it right then and there, right?
Yes.
You didn't go into work, right?
I did not.
You did notify them that you were not going to go into work that day, though, is what you told us, right?
Yes, I did.
Where were you working?
I think I was working at the Purple Plum.
And then you went to where Mr. Juarez was, and you started to talk to him about these letters, right?
First I printed them and then I went there with them.
You did go to talk to Mr. Juarez, correct?
Yes,
And you had these letters, and you confronted him with them, with the letters, right?
yes.
Ma'am, in your personal life,
Ugly bitch.
not the professional life, but in your personal life, you're very direct when you feel that you've been aggrieved, aren't you?
Objection argumentative, Your Honor.
See, you see how lawyers helping out. You see what the prosecutor trying to do. The prosecutor trying to make her look like she's a stalker. She's very determined to get her way. But you know, he's a good lawyer. Every time she gets in trouble or there's a question that she might answer, he'll stick in there just to give her some time to think how she's going to answer. We didn't see that in the last episode I did with that lady. What's her name? Nancy Forty, whatever her name was. Her defense attorney, she didn't do anything to help her out. She just let her talk. Stop, man. The microphone. She let her talk for hours and never helped her or even give her time to breathe or let her know, yo, what's up? See how the lawyer does? That's a good defense lawyer. Sustained.
It depends
Overruled.
on how comfortable I am with the person.
Well, you were comfortable enough to immediately confront Bobby, right?
Absolutely.
Because you had a relationship, right?
Yes,
You didn't waste any time going right to him and saying, look, I have these letters and they're a problem for me, right?
I didn't say that.
You didn't go to him with these letters?
I did, but I didn't say what you said.
Well, so you told him you were okay with the letters then, right?
I didn't say that either.
Well, you let him know that you had a problem with those letters, didn't you?
See,
I
she's
didn't say anything.
she's
I
playing
had
these
to
games.
and
Playing
cry.
these games. It hurt her, man. Hurt her now.
So you went in there, you gave him the letters and you started to cry, right?
Yeah,
But that was after you had not gone into work, after you had sort of gone into his computer, his personal items, and then immediately, within minutes, because Wairika is very small according to you, you were there confronting him, right?
I guess you could say confrontation.
No, I don't want you to say, I don't want you to guess at anything.
I want to see
were
what you
there,
got.
Whether or not you were there, right?
Define showing, I just handed them to him.
Okay, giving somebody the letters, that doesn't mean showing to you?
They were folded up.
Giving somebody the
So she's playing this word game. She's a fucking nut job. See? Oh, I didn't hand it to him. They were not folded. Doesn't really matter. She's playing with him. She's gonna get him. She's gonna the first day. She's gonna play this snarky game and these Smith word, trying to play with words. I didn't do that. I didn't say that as a way to irritate the prosecutor. But in the end, he's gonna break her down. He's gonna make her cry and snot all over her face. Not today, but the next show we're gonna have.
letters doesn't mean showing them to that person?
It could.
It could. Well, you were there. If you gave him those letters, your intent was for him to look at them, right?
Yes.
So when you gave them to him, you showed him the letters, right?
He reviewed them.
Ma'am, did you?
Is there a difference, you
did
fucking?
show him the letters?
Is there really a difference? Really?
Sustained.
Shut up.
After you gave him the letters, he began to read them, right?
Yes.
And you were standing there, right?
Yes.
And you did not waste, in other words, you immediately went to see him, right? There wasn't anything intervening other than going to work and letting them know that after you gave him the letters, you were not going to come into work, right?
Actually, that's not right. I did go home and get all my things and move it out. Then I took it over.
So you were even more assertive than that. You were not going to put up with any of this. You put the stuff that you had at his house, and then you moved out, right?
Yes.
That's very assertive, isn't it? Even at the age of 17 or 18, isn't it?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
This is the same thing she did with Trevor. She snooped on his phone. She saw these, guys. She's not his real, girlfriend. She saw him texting other girls. She breaks up the relationship. She moves back to California. Then 2 weeks later, she moves back to Arizona and stalk him day and night. Then end up killing him. She broke up with him first. Then she ended up going back to these guys, and she's like 17 years old. So she had no. I don't want to be judgmental. She had no good upbringing. You understand?
Well, you didn't waste any time at that tender age, did you?
No, I'd never been cheated on before.
Ma'am, did I ask you whether you'd been cheated on before?
See? You know why he does that? He's going to do that throughout the trial. He doesn't want her to build any relationship with the jury over there. He doesn't want that. You understand what he's doing, right? He does not want her to have any sympathy with one juror there. So he keeps her within the framework of his question, yes or no. And when she asks something from her side, he's like, did I ask you that? Did I really ask you that? I didn't ask you that. You understand what he's doing here? He is a fucking... I like him. I bought his book. He's a smart guy, man.
I'm asking you whether or not at that moment you made that decision and you moved out, right?
Yes.
Weren't going to put up with it, right?
No.
And then you went to talk to him about it, right?
Yes.
And then you guys broke up about it over it.
We actually didn't.
You stayed with him then, right?
Yes.
Even though you felt that you had been cheated on, you decided to stay, right?
After some talking, I
The
did.
answer is yes or no. Did you decide
I
to
don't want to hear it. Yes or no?
Yes.
It eventually means that
Keep on the yes and no. That's it.
something that happened in between, and you're telling us that you talked about it, right? Mm-hmm. Is that yes?
That's yes.
Where did you go with your stuff? Where did you actually spend the night that night after you took your stuff?
Grandparents' home.
My grandmother's.
See?
And how long did you stay there?
I don't remember. It wasn't too long.
5 days, 3 days.
Days? Was it hours?
Probably a few days.
So after a few days, you decided to get back with Bobby, right?
Yes.
And that was your decision, right?
To get back with him?
Yes. That was after talking to him, right?
Yes.
Whatever it was that he said, and whatever thoughts you were thinking, you felt comfortable enough to go back, right?
Yes.
Additionally, do you remember when we talked about Matthew McCartney?
Yes.
You sort of did the same thing with regard to him, didn't you?
Okay, so he's gonna go boyfriend one after the other. She does the same thing with all the boyfriends. She snoops, she spies on them, she breaks up with them, then she goes back with them. and she become obsessive with them. So he's trying to build that idea that she's a stalker, and that he's trying to build the groundwork until he gets to his guy who got killed, who's Trevor. Trevor Alexander, the guy, the Mormon kid. So what he's trying to do right now, he's a smart prosecutor. He's been doing this for 30 years. He wants to build that idea that she does this all the time. She does this all the time. She did it before, and he's gonna go one boyfriend after another. I don't know how these people get this information. People that got big mouths. I mean, how does she know these names, man?
In what way?
In what way?
In
See?
the way that we're talking about. You
Be more
found out.
specific.
Okay. You had a feeling. Do you remember after looking at a photograph?
Yes.
And based on that feeling, you drove to Crater Lake, right?
No.
Where did you drive to, ma'am?
I drove to Crater Lake, but not based on the feeling.
Well, you saw a photograph with the letter B on it, right?
Yes.
And you believed that something was going on, right?
Not at that point.
Well, at some point, you did go to Crater Lake. What is it that you learned that allowed you to go to Crater Lake?
Two of his coworkers told me that he was
You were
with a
working,
girl
right?
named Bianca.
Answer the question.
Initial response.
There's no co-workers.
A couple was came into my work and they told me that they wanted to tell me something, and it was about Bianca.
And so you saw the photograph, you heard this, and you immediately left work, right?
I went home early. Yes.
But you immediately left work. Isn't that what I asked you?
No, I had to do some side work before I left.
All right. How much time elapsed between the time that you heard about this and the side work?
Probably 5 to 10 minutes.
And so
Oof,
then
look
after
at that
5
ugly
minutes,
face.
You left because you were going to.
I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of girls going to get mad, whoever watches this. You see how big her chin is? Bigger than her forehead. I never seen a girl like that. Look at that. And she makes those faces like, ugh.
Go take care of this issue by speaking with Bianca, right?
First, I drove to Ashland.
Did I ask you where you went?
See?
Yes.
No, I asked you whether or not you went to speak to Bianca. Did you go speak with her that day?
Yes.
Didn't you tell us that you drove an hour and a half?
I believe it was about that long.
And so you weren't going to put up with that either, were you?
Sorry.
Put up with what?
Well, what is it that we're talking about here?
See?
Which
See?
part put up with?
Were you going to put up with what we just...
You see how fucking this girl, man. You see, god damn! If I would jump right on the stand here, beat up.
talked about? Are you having problems understanding again what's going on?
Sometimes, because you go in circles.
Well, I'm asking you, did you have any problem knowing that we were talking about Matthew McCartney?
No.
Did you have any problem that we were discussing Bianca?
No.
Did you have any problem after you told us that you were at work, right?
Did I
Yeah.
have any problem?
Understanding that.
No.
Did you have any problem understanding that after 5 to 10 minutes you left, right?
That's right.
And then after 5 or 10 minutes, you went and drove an hour and a half to speak with Bianca, right?
Watch.
No.
What did you do in between?
I drove about 15 miles south to my home in Ashland. I got out of my stinky work clothes and just threw on some...
She just wanted to say that, and I get off my stinky clothes. She just wanted to say that. She needs to deflect. And she's a narcissistic individual. You see how she goes? And I went home, and she does that hand movement, and I went home, and I get off my dirty... As you know, when you watch a TV show, as she's a normal human being, which she's not.
Jeans and T-shirt and hit the road.
All right, thank you.
So other than the stuff
Like, we really
on your
needed to know that
house,
information.
Clothing, you did go straight to talk to Bianca, right?
Yes.
Because you, whenever you feel that something's not right, that's your personality, it appears, you are going to confront that person, right?
Not necessarily.
Or not necessarily, well, the 2 occasions that we know of with the 2 boyfriends, isn't that what you've done?
Yes.
And so, with regard to Mr. Alexander, sort of the same thing happened back in August of 2007, didn't it?
No, it was in June.
Pardon?
June.
Well, do you remember talking to us about an incident that happened in August of 2007 when you were looking inside and you saw him kissing a woman? Do you
Oh
remember
yeah, that
that?
incident was August.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that you weren't happy with that incident, were you?
No, I
And
wasn't.
you thought you were being courted, right?
I was being courted.
And you felt that
Nobody's
you were being
courting
wronged,
you. Nobody's
right?
courting.
I wouldn't say wronged.
Well,
17
you
years
felt
old.
strong enough about it to then go confront him the next day, didn't you?
I don't even know if it was confrontation. It was
Well-
very non-confrontational on my end.
You want to see him, right?
Yes.
You want to talk to him, right?
Yes.
You want to clear things up, right?
Yes, exactly.
You just have a problem with the word confrontation because you say you are not confrontational, right?
No, it's because I wasn't allowed to be confrontational with Travis.
Well, you're saying that right now that you're not allowed. How could
Imagine that's his family. That's his brother in the middle. That's his sister-in-law. That's his other sister. They had to listen to the shit for 55 days, where she made up the story about their brother and their brother and or their son or their cousin, that he was a pedophile, that he was abusive, that he was a domestic. She made up so many shit, and they had to sit through that and listen to that fucking guy. Look at that look they give to her. And I like they got these face. They never show any reaction because they're told to. You know why? They tell them that.
he possibly control how you acted?
He had that control.
You're saying that he controlled you so much that when you were in his presence, you had no free will. That's what you're telling us, right?
That's not what I said.
Well, you could have left anytime you were in his presence, couldn't you?
Yes.
You did have the opportunity to never go there if you didn't want to, right?
Yes.
In fact, you moved to Wairika when you wanted to, didn't you?
Not when I wanted to, but eventually.
Well, wait a minute. You said you were going to leave around March. You talked to him about leaving in March, and by April, you're gone, right?
Yes.
So that's leaving when you want, right?
No, I wanted to leave much earlier.
Well, you could have made arrangements to do that, right?
If I had the financial means, yes.
Well, you spoke with your mom about it, didn't you?
Eventually.
In your personal dealings, you don't waste any time, do you?
No, I'm a procrastinator.
Oh, so...
Yeah, procrastinator, yeah, right.
Examples indicate that you acted immediately.
She's a prostitute. That's the person who went right back to the library, spied on her other boyfriend, and that's the other person who got some words at her work that some ladies came and told her that her boyfriend was cheating on her with another, and drove an hour and a half to that lady to confront her. That's a prosecutor. Oh, I just take my time. I'm a person of patience, and you're a stalker. You're an evil Knievel. Knievel? I don't know Knievel.
Right?
I didn't act immediately in August 2007.
Well, with regard to Mr. Juarez, you acted immediately, right?
Yes, I did.
With regard to Mr. McCartney, you acted immediately, right?
Yes.
And with regard to Mr. Brewer, you acted immediately too, right?
Regarding what?
What are we talking
See?
about?
See how she
here,
does?
man?
See?
Mr. Brewer never cheated on me to my knowledge.
Well, I'm not asking you about cheating. I'm asking about you getting out of relationships. You did get out of that relationship almost immediately upon meeting Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes.
No. I
Well-
already had one foot out the door on that relationship.
But once you met Mr. Alexander, you got back home, and immediately that Thursday, you told Mr. Brewer that it was over, right?
Immediately, as in 4 days later.
Yes, immediately, and as in 4 days later,
You
right?
see that?
So you got home on a Sunday, and by
And you
Thursday,
see how she turns around and looks at the fucking jury? That's how lawyer told her. The same thing that fucking lady and that what's her name? Amber whatever. You know I got bad memory, man. Amber Heard. You know, they teach you your defense lawyer told you, you have to look at the jury. You have to make connections so you could build a relationship with them. But she keeps on looking at them. They know she's sick. But the whole idea right now, he's winning. You know why? Because he doesn't let her babble. He just wants a yes or no, or within the framework of his question. He doesn't want any sympathy that she was hurt or she was in pain or they left her or they cheated on her. He doesn't want to build any any relationship or sympathy with even one juror, because you got 12 jurors there. If one of them just say, she's a nice girl, maybe not, then you're going to have a mistrial. You understand?
Thursday, he was on the outs, right?
No. He was in the same house.
No, by the outs, I mean
Smart ass.
no longer your
Smart ass.
boyfriend, right?
You're a smart ass.
So when you decide something, you can do it if you want to, right?
Yes.
And in fact, with regard to, for example, with your mother, you feel that you act the same.
What he's saying is you have free will. He's trying to say, why didn't you leave Trevor Alexander if you were she claimed she was in a domestic violence, that he was beating her up. And she's in California and he's in Arizona, like 1,000 miles apart. I don't know how he's doing it. Maybe he used to fly at night. But the whole idea, he's trying to build right now that she has free will in relationships to leave. First, he laid down the groundwork that she's a stalker. She snoops on her boyfriends and she creates these situations and leaves and comes back. Now he wants to build the groundwork that she has free will in these relationships, that she left these relationships. So she could have left Trevor Alexander anytime. He had no sway over her, like you say. So he's trying to build that idea that she's a person of free will, even if she's an idiot.
Same way with her. If there's something about her that you don't like, you act immediately on it, don't you?
Yes.
And in fact, you were talking about moving. She's assisted you or attempted to assist you in moving, right?
Yes.
She came out in May, right? I'm
I
sorry, I
believe it was.
apologize. She came out in March, didn't she?
It was late March or early April.
Well, didn't she come out on Sunday, March 30th of 2008?
Sunday doesn't sound right.
Okay?
How about Tuesday?
But she came out in March, didn't she?
Fucking idiot.
Yes. It might have been late March or early April.
And she came out, and when she came out, and she was acting in a way that you didn't like the way she acted, right?
During part of it, yes.
She was making stupid excuses, wasn't she?
Yes, about her flight.
Right. And she was also being negative, right?
Yes.
And because of that, you made sure that she went back, didn't you?
No, that was her decision.
So it was her decision after you indicated to her that she was making stupid excuses and that she was acting negative and you didn't need it around you, right?
Yes.
So in your personal life, ma'am, it appears from these examples that we've been talking about, if you feel something, just again, based on these examples, it looks like you are able to act upon them very quickly.
Yeah, free will.
Depends on the individual.
Well, I'm saying in these examples.
You know why she said that? It depends on the individual. She's trying to say that Trevor. The whole idea is she wants to portray Trevor Alexander as she was in an abusive relationship that she could not leave. The prosecutor right now, he wants to prove that she had free will. She could have left at any time that relationship. What she's saying, I left an old relationship, but Trevor, I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. You know, that Trevor kid, he just had something over me.
That we've talked about, it appears that you've been able to act very quickly, right?
In those examples, yes.
And so there's an indication somehow that when we were talking about Mr. Burns also, that you acted quickly with regard to him too, right?
What do you mean by quickly?
Well, you and he are talking on the telephone, correct, at some point during the beginnings of your relationship, right?
Yes.
And then you and he are starting to text message each other, right?
Yes.
You almost very quickly decide to make plans to meet him, right?
After a few months.
Right, and then you then decide to drive out there, and you actually do go out to the West Jordan area,
Sorry.
don't you?
Yes.
And on the very first date, first time that you've been alone, you very quickly are having some sort of sexual contact with him,
Yeah.
right?
No, there was no sexual contact.
So you're saying that
Watch.
based on your being on top of him and kissing him, that is not sexual contact?
I was on top of him sleeping.
Pardon?
Yeah,
When I was on
sleeping.
top of him, we were
She just fell asleep. That's all she was doing, you
You
fucking.
woke up and you kissed him, didn't you?
After I moved and he adjusted himself.
So you're saying he adjusted himself, you didn't help with any of the
I
adjustments?
assisted him, yes.
Right, and basically that means putting your hands on his buttock area, right?
No, it was his shoulders.
Yeah, it's always about the soldiers.
So that, additionally, with regard to Mr. Alexander, you broke up with him at the end of June of 2007, right?
Yes.
You were able to do that also, correct?
Yes.
And you did it because of what you believe were trust issues, right?
Yes.
Let's take a look at what you said about those trust issues.
All right, let's see. Oof, what a face. Oof. I would never eat breakfast with her. If I slept with her at nighttime and I get up in the morning, I would run right to McDonald's or IHOP to have breakfast. All right, hurry up. That's her lawyer. Look at this.
This is Exhibit 479. Before we leave the issue involving Mr. Juarez, you and he were sexual, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you and Mr. Juarez engaged in anal intercourse, correct?
On 2 occasions.
So the answer is yes, you did, correct?
Yes, on 2 occasions.
Do you know somebody by the name of Richard Samuels?
Yes,
And he's an individual that has come out and is assisting in your defense, right?
that's right.
And with regard to him, you lied to him, didn't you?
Initially, I did.
No, when he asked you about this issue involving anal intercourse, you told him that the only person
Ain't no oh shit.
with was Travis Alexander, right?
I told him on a regular basis, Travis only.
So what she was saying is, I mean, I already saw most of the trial is that Trevor Alexander was sexually being rough because he had sex with her in her anal sex, but he's gonna prove that she's been doing it before, and she's the one who introduced this sex act to the relationship with Trevor Alexander. Now remember, Trevor is a fucking Mormon. He didn't even masturbate before that, believe it or not. So when he saw that with the what is it? Lubricant, I don't know, it's called K9 or jelly. I don't know what it is. It's a lubricant. We're gonna hear about it. So she introduced the sexual relationship of anal sex to the relationship.
So what you're saying is that he got it wrong then, right?
I'm not saying that.
Overruled.
So are you saying that you did tell Mr. Samuels that you had had anal intercourse with other men?
If it was asked of me, then yes, I would have told him.
So he had to ask you then, right? In order for you to provide that information.
I answered whatever questions he asked.
And if he indicates that you did not tell him that, then that would be you not being truthful to him, right?
Rephrase.
Were you untruthful with him about whether or not you had had anal intercourse with Bobby Juarez?
No,
It's your statement that you did tell him that on 2 occasions you had anal intercourse with Bobby Juarez, right?
that's not my statement.
Well, did you or didn't you tell him that you had had anal intercourse with Bobby Juarez?
Overruled.
If it was discussed, I would have told
Ma'am,
him.
the answer
If it
is
wasn't
yes or no.
discussed, then I did.
She's gonna rant. He's not gonna let you go on a rant, Jodie.
Question.
Yes,
Yes
yes.
or
Answer the
no?
question,
Did you
Jodie.
tell him that you had ever engaged in anal intercourse with Bobby Juarez?
Tell them.
I don't remember if it was discussed.
Again, do you have problems with your
Memories?
such that you
Things that are not in her benefit, she doesn't remember. Oh, I don't remember that. And she already talked. It's all on record. It's already on fucking court documents. So there is no reason for her to do that. The more she does that, the more she looks bad in front of the jury. You understand what I'm saying? Because when she's playing these mind games with the prosecutor, he's gonna play with her as far as she wants. But remember the golden rule for this guy: you cannot get out of the framework of my question. All I want is a yes or no. And if I want you to expand, you have to expand within the framework I want. I don't want no sympathy. I don't want you to add anything that is unnecessary to the question. This is a smart motherfucking prosecutor. Juan Martinez.
can't remember things?
I don't consider that a problem, but there are things that I don't remember.
So you don't consider that a problem, that there's a lot of things that you don't remember in this case?
In this case, that is sometimes problematic, yes.
And with regard to the act itself, and part of the reason I bring it up is that, do you remember in this chat that you had with Mr. Alexander, you discussed baby oil? Do you remember that?
I don't know why he's fucking with this anal sex. Move on, man. What's wrong with you? Like that?
There was a audio conversation that was played that took place on May 10th of 2008. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And do you remember that during that act, this issue involving KY came up?
Oh, KY. See, KY.
And do you
KY.
remember that in it, you discussed how much better KY was than baby oil, right?
yes,
And the reason that you were able to say that was because you had experience with baby oil involving Mr. Juarez, right?
I think so.
This whole going around, he trying to get her to admit that she took it up the ass with another guy. That's all it is. Excuse my language. And she did take it, and she just don't want to admit it. And she used baby oil then. Then she got the, I don't know how, she got the KY, is it what it's called? It's supposed to be more lubricant for forever. I don't know what Juan Martinez is trying to get, but I think he wants to show that she had experience with that kind of sexual relationship, that Trevor Alexander did not introduce that behavior to to the relationship. Because when Trevor used to get mad at her, he would call her the what is it? The three-hole wonder. That means, you know, the mouth, the front, and the back. That she does all. She services with all her body parts. In other words, I don't know how to say it. You know.
Well, we don't want you to think. Isn't it true that when you and Mr. Juarez engaged in anal intercourse, you used baby oil, right?
I don't remember that far back what kind of lubricant we used.
But you do remember the telephone conversation that you had with Mr. Alexander dated of May 10th of 2008, right?
Yes,
And in it, you do discuss baby oil and KY, right?
yes.
Let's take a look at Exhibit 479.
No objection.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 479.
479 is submitted.
Hey, you should be embarrassed. Look at you. Look at you. You fucked up your whole life. Look at you. Now you're in jail, running around, fucking all your life in a fucking scissoring. That's what she's doing right now in jail. Scissoring. She has no life. She's a fucking idiot. Evil. I swear to God, she's evil. What she did to that man. What she did to that man is pure evil, man. Unbelievable. Stabbed in the heart, 27 times stabbed, slit his throat, and shot him in the head, man. That is fucking... Okay, this is hot, wait. Okay. This is her before the trial. She was still claiming that a man and a woman came in the house and they attacked them and they killed Travis and they let her go. But they told her, remember, we have your address. We're going to come for you and your family. So she went on these shows like 48 Hours, I think what's it called, Inside Edition. And she put on this show, you know, she's a fucking good actor. That's what she is. And everybody saw through that. Go ahead.
During the relationship, I was very happy. You know, and it wasn't always perfect. Our relationship was by no means perfect. But just knowing him has taught me a lot.
See? Just knowing him taught her a lot. At that time, she was saying he was a good person.
Happy in your relationship with Travis?
Yes, I was. Yeah. During the relationship, I was very happy.
But he wasn't.
You know, and it wasn't always perfect. Our relationship.
It was never perfect.
But just knowing him has taught me a lot.
Objection, Your Honor. Will we approach?
You may.
What the fuck with this approach? You're fucking bald-headed. If he was let me move on, right? Wait. Okay. Is it?
And you really didn't have permission to do that, did you?
No, I didn't. Actually, I did. I'm sorry, I did.
Oh, while he was asleep, you had permission?
Oh, hold on. This is
He had
important.
offered,
Hold on.
here, look at my phone.
Okay, wait. All right. They're back. Sorry. This is about her snooping behavior.
He's an amazing person, right?
Yes.
And part of we've been told about in this particular proceeding is that you've been telling us nothing but negatives about him, correct?
That's all I was asked about. That's correct.
Well, the answer is yes, that's all you've been telling us about. But he is an individual that was somebody that you loved, correct?
Yes.
And according to you, he was an amazing person.
Yes.
Right? And with regard to this amazing person, one of the things that we know is that when you broke up because you believed that he was being unfaithful to you, right?
I knew he was.
All right? And you knew that he was being unfaithful because you did, when he was asleep, you went into his telephone, right?
Yes.
And you looked at what was on his telephone, right?
That's right.
And you really didn't have permission to do that, did you?
No, I didn't. Actually, I did. I'm sorry. I did.
No, you didn't.
Well,
No, you
did
didn't.
have permission
Watch
to go in
this.
there?
He had offered, here, look at my phone, and I said no.
So right before he went to sleep, he said to you, here, have my phone, look at it.
It wasn't right before he went to sleep.
Ma'am, right before he went to sleep, did he say to you, here, take a look at my phone?
No, not right before he went to sleep.
So you
a lie.
decided, though, to go and look at
Snooping
that
you.
phone, right?
Yes.
And when you looked at that phone, you believed that you saw some text messages that were inappropriate, right?
I did see text messages that were inappropriate.
That you believe were inappropriate, right?
They were inappropriate.
And in fact, these text messages involve some individuals, some females, right?
I assume they were females. There were no names attached to the phone.
Ah, come on. You know they're
So it could have been
females.
guys, is that what you're saying?
Not likely, but I guess it's possible.
So you looked at these.
Is there a need for that?
messages and
Look at the
according to
family.
the
They want
subject
to
matter,
beat the
it
shit out
was
of her.
right?
Yes.
He was talking about meeting people, right?
Yes.
And in fact, what you told us was that one of the persons was married, right?
No, that was his MySpace.
Okay, so that was something that occurred back at the time that you and he first started to date, right?
Prior to that, it
Right.
occurred a few months prior.
But the messages, what did they say? I'm not saying specifically, but what was the subject matter?
Things referencing specific sexual body parts interacting with other sexual body parts, things like that, and plans in the making of meeting up at hotel rooms or his house, things like that.
And you were very offended by that, right?
Yeah, offended would be accurate.
Right? And you were so offended that you still decided to go on vacation with him, though, right?
That wasn't why.
Well, no, you were very offended. You just told us that, right?
I didn't say very, but yes. I was
Okay, you were offended, right?
She still that he's talking to another woman. She was offended, but she still went on vacation with him to New York. New York, that's my city.
I was hurt.
Ma'am, didn't you just say you were offended?
Offended would be accurate.
And did you just say it was a good word, right?
Yeah, there's many descriptors to use.
But you just said just now it was a good word, right?
Yes, I think.
You think. It means you don't remember what you just said?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You just said offended was a good word, and when I used it, then you took issue with it. Is it a good word or is it not a good word?
It depends on how you used it.
Well, I'm
That's a
saying
issue.
you're the one that, I asked you the question, that you were offended, and you said offended is a good word, right? That's what you said, right?
I think so, yes.
So, well, you think so means you don't know, right?
I don't know.
Well, this just happened. How is it that you are not remembering what you're saying?
Because you're making my brain scramble.
I'm, again, making your brain scramble. So, in this particular case, the problem is not you, it's
Nah, he's gonna go into this diatribe that he did not need to. He fucking wasted so many time. The problem with Juan is he's very argumentative, and if he feels slighted, he'll come back at you. Even with the other witnesses, I'm gonna try to show you on later on in a couple of days. He just took an issue with what she's saying to prove that she blames people for problems that are hers. You understand what he's trying to do? But he went on a rant. Let's watch it. I didn't like this part.
the questions being posed by the prosecutor, right?
No, not
Yes
the
or no?
questions.
Yes or no?
I was saying no when you interrupted me.
So, no, so in this case, you're looking to point the finger at somebody else again, right?
No, it's my fault.
Well, you're saying it's the prosecutor that's asking you the questions, and that's creating a problem for you, right?
That's not what I said.
Well, you said it's the way you're posing the questions. You just said that, right?
I don't know.
You don't know what you just said, ma'am?
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
I don't know.
Didn't it just happen?
Yes.
So how is it that if it just happened, you can't even remember what you just said?
I think I'm more focused on your posture and your tone and your anger, so it's hard to process the question.
So the answer is, it's again the prosecutor's fault because you perceive him to be angry, right?
It's not your fault.
Well, is somebody asking you whose fault it is?
You did.
Well, you seem to be pointing it at the prosecutor, right? So you believe the reason that you can't be effective on the witness stand is because somebody is asking you questions in a way you don't like.
I think that was a compound question.
Ma'am, isn't it true?
Compound
that
question. I don't even know what
having
that is.
problems up on the witness stand, according to you, because of the way the prosecutor is asking the questions, right?
Yes.
And so according to you, the truth with regard to this issue depends on the style that's being used, right? That's what the truth knows.
Objection, argumentative. That's characterized as their testimony.
Saying rephrase.
You're saying that you are having trouble telling us, you're telling us the truth from the witness stand, right?
Absolutely.
You're telling us that you're having trouble telling us the truth because of the way the questions are being posed, right?
Objection is characterized as her testimony.
Overruled, you mean.
I have no problem.
Shut up, you lawyer.
I'm not asking you if you have a problem telling the truth, but what you seem to be telling us now is that you have problems telling us the truth now because of the way the questions are being phrased, right?
That's not right.
So it's something else then that the prosecutor is doing that's bothering you, right?
He made it
I don't know
personal.
how to answer that.
Well, it's something else that the prosecutor is doing that's stopping you from telling us the truth, right?
I don't know how to answer that.
Why don't you know how to answer that? You're the one that brought it up. You're the one that pointed the finger at the prosecutor.
He made it personal. He made
And
it
you're the
personal.
one that complained.
Come on, Juan. Move
about
on.
the way
Move
the
on.
questions were being posed by the prosecutor just now, didn't you?
Yes.
And
Look
you
at me.
indicated that the prosecutor's posture was aggressive, right?
I didn't say
Sorry.
aggressive.
You indicated posture, though, right?
Yes.
And there was something with the prosecutor's posture that you have problems with, right?
I don't know.
Well, no, you're the one that's used the word posture, man. You're the one that said that you have problems with the posture. So is it the
It's not
posture?
the problem with your posture, it's that it creates a problem with me processing what you're saying, because I'm focused more on your posture than the content of your question.
So you're saying that you need
So I think Juan just invested a lot of time in that question. I think what he's trying to show that she deflects that problem to other people. She never accepts any wrongs that she does. She doesn't accept her mistakes. Like say, well, I made a mistake there. She's always, I'm perfect, I'm good, I never make mistakes. It's either you're asking me the wrong way or the way you're asking me is scrambling my head. It's always them, not me. I'm always perfect. So, what I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to show that she doesn't accept any blame or any wrongdoing or that she makes mistake. This is the whole issue with her. Yeah,
take some more time between questions to answer them? Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes.
No.
No. Is that what's going to help your memory, to take more time between the questions?
Sometimes.
What's your answer?
Sometimes.
Overruled.
Ma'am, with regard to this issue of posturing, do you remember back on July 15th of 2008 when Detective Flores interviewed you? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he was sitting down, right?
Yes.
And his voice was very quiet, right?
Yes.
And when he was asking you these questions and his voice was very quiet,
You still lied.
to him, didn't you? So it doesn't have anything to do with the volume of the question then, does it? As to what...
So what he just proved, he said she had somebody ask a lot of questions, and he's soft spoken. I think he's one of the psychologists or one of these doctors, those fucking for rent people they bring on to the fucking trial, and they just say whatever you want. So he's asking a question softly or whatever, and she still lied to him. So he's saying, well, I mean, if you lie to him, why you? It's not me then. It's you. You understand what he's trying to do? Like I'm fucking smart when it comes to this
Whether or
shit.
not you'll tell the truth.
I'll always tell the truth.
All right.
Oh, so you'll always tell the truth.
Truth.
You told the truth to Detective Flores back then, right?
I mean here under oath.
No, you said I always will tell the truth, right?
I said I will always tell the truth.
Right. Did you tell the truth? Isn't it true you did not tell the truth to Detective Flores?
That's true.
Okay.
Oh, it's a
And
detective. I'm
he
sorry,
had
guys.
Posture or a demeanor where he was just sitting back, right?
He was leaning forward, but he
All
was...
right, he was sitting down, right?
Yes.
He wasn't standing, right?
Not for most of the interview. That's
No, he
right.
wasn't, was he? And the reason you're having problems now, is it because the prosecutor's standing?
It's my own internal mental problem, I think.
Well, if it's your own internal mental problem, that means that what you are telling us are inaccurate answers, right?
Objection.
No.
She said she had trouble recalling not telling the truth. This mischaracterized her testimony and has continued badgering.
Sustained as to the first objection, rephrase.
Here, are you having trouble because the prosecutor is standing?
Having trouble what?
What are we talking about here?
You're talking about the truth, I'm talking about memory.
Aren't we talking about answering the questions?
You keep saying truth, I'm referring to memory.
Aren't we, though, basically talking about you answering the questions?
Both regarding answering questions.
Right? Isn't that what we're talking about?
You keep mentioning truth. I'm not having a problem telling the truth.
All right. But you are having problems answering my questions, right?
I don't have a problem answering your question if I remember the answer.
So, but you just told us that you're having problems answering the question because of the prosecutor's posture. Didn't you tell us that?
That's not the direct reason, but that's a trigger.
Well, that's what you told us just now, right?
Something to that effect.
Right. And so, would you like it if I stood over here, like your counsel was asking you the question?
Oh, man, you guys crazy, man.
Would it make you feel more comfortable if I stood over here and used the lectern, man?
He's fucking going nuts, man.
He does the same thing over and over again.
Mr. Nermi, are you asking to approach the bench with an objection? You may approach.
All right, then now they're gonna. I hate this approach here. Is there a sidebar? Or no, we're not gonna do this sidebar. They're gonna, hold on.
In that moment, that was correct.
So it changes from moment to moment then?
Sometimes, yeah.
So in this case, it changes from moment to moment depending on what the prosecutor is doing, right?
It's not necessarily just dependent upon the prosecutor.
With regard to your conversation with Detective Flores back on July 16th.
He's talking to us as a third person. That's fucking crazy.
He was pretty much sitting down in a chair back then, wasn't he?
Yes,
And yet you lied to him then, right?
yes.
So it really doesn't have to do anything with the posture or where the person is sitting in terms of whether or not you'll lie, right?
Again, objection. We're not. That mischaracterizes her testimony. She said over and over again it deals with memory, not telling the truth.
Objection noted, overruled. You may answer the question.
What was the question?
Mike, could you please read it to her?
You know, see, that's a power move right now. What the power move is, she wants to. She said, "What's the question?" If he answers the question every time, and she said, "What was the question?" She'll start to play that game. But he's a fucking smart prosecutor. What he does, he makes the stenographer ask the question. So if she does it all the time, everybody's going to get upset with her because she's delaying the fucking trial. You understand how smart he is? Because if, let's say if it was a regular, oh, well, I said that. Then 10 minutes later, what did you say again? Then she'll stop playing this game. Could you repeat it? Couldn't you repeat it? You understand what's going on? So he has the stenographer does it. It takes time. Like right now, I'm upset he's doing it because he's wasting time. And we want to see the fireworks. Good. See? Imagine if that guy wasn't writing anything. He's like, oh, shit, we're going to be again.
Question. So it really doesn't have anything to do with the posture or where the person is sitting in terms of whether you'll lie.
Well,
See?
sometimes I lie to Travis based on his posture.
Objection, Judge, he's not responding to the question.
Wait, another question.
So, you understand we're not talking about right now about your relationship with Mr. Alexander. You understand that,
I
correct?
understand we got very off track, yes.
Pardon?
I understand we got very off track, the subject of my relationship.
I'm asking you whether or not you understand that this line of questioning right now is not about your relationship with Mr. Alexander. Do you understand that?
I answered yes.
And this is about your ability to answer questions in the courtroom, right?
Yes.
And what we're trying to determine is what is it that will allow you to answer the questions from the witness stand, from the prosecutor.
I thought you had said whether or not it's the truth. It's not about.
Ma'am,
Which part are you talking about?
ma'am, Mike, could you please read the further question again?
See? She will do it all day. She's a fucking animal, man. Excuse my language. I don't know how it's coming out the way I'm saying it. She will do this all day. So he's making him read it. So she'll get tired of doing it and she's not going to do it again. It's about a power right now.
Restate the question.
Ma'am,
Right now it's about power. He's trying to assert his power as a prosecutor to tame her down and keep her within the framework of what he wants her to do. And she's trying to assert her power that she could upset him or get him out of his box or create havoc for him that he comes out of his plan and she could do what she wants. Her whole idea was she thought, like she did with her lawyer in direct examination, if you want to go to see it. I don't put cross-examination because it's boring. It's just asking questions that are rehearsed, so you don't want to hear that. But she gets to look at the jury and she explains, I like the color blue and sometimes I like purple. He don't want that. He wants yes or no. Did you do it or you didn't do it? And why can't you remember what I just asked you? Do you have an issue remembering things? Because that's what she does. Every time there's a question that's against her or there's going to put her in a box, she plays memory loss. I lost my memory.
you understand that we want your answers, whatever they may be. You understand that, right?
Yes.
And you understand that we need as complete answers as possible. You understand that, right?
No, that's not the impression I'm getting from you.
So the question is, so to you, unless you're allowed to ramble on,
See?
then you're being restricted, right?
No, that's not correct.
Well, in this particular case, you're saying that the prosecutor is cutting you off, right?
In this particular case, is in this cross-examination, yes.
And you're saying that you're not getting a chance to answer the questions fully, right?
Yeah, you don't want to rumble.
Well, let's do this. With regard to you and Mr. Alexander, one of the things that happened was that you and he broke up. You understand that? Back on June 29th of 2007. You understand that?
Yes.
The person that did the breaking up was you, right?
Yes.
And the reason that you broke up with him is because you snooped into his telephone,
Snoop.
right?
Yes.
And you did not have his permission on the day that you did it to go into his telephone, right?
Not explicitly, no.
When you say not explicitly, it means that you did
Stop splitting hair, you fucking
give
idiot.
permission to go into the phone.
No.
You understand what you're saying, that, right?
Yes, at one point I did.
I'm not asking at one point. I'm asking on the day that you did it.
He probably like 3 months ago said, you want to see my phone when he was first courting her? Now all of a sudden she thinks she has an exclusive right to his phone. You understand what she's doing?
Did you have his permission?
No.
Whether written or oral, to go into his telephone and look at his
No. No,
He
no,
had told me to
no.
look in his phone.
That
So
day
I guess
before-
it's just a matter of interpretation.
Ma'am, that day before he went to sleep, did he tell you to look into, that it was okay to look into his telephone?
Not
No.
that day.
And so
So,
you took it
you
upon yourself
you
to
snoop.
look into that telephone, right?
Yes.
And that's when you saw these text messages, right?
Yes.
And then that upset you, right?
Yes.
And as a result of that, you made a decision that the relationship was over, right?
Not right that day.
At some point, you did make the decision that the relationship was over, right?
Yes.
But you were upset that he was having these conversations about bodily parts with these other individuals via text message, right?
Yes.
And you were so upset that you still decided to go on vacation with him, right?
That's not why.
Well, you still went on vacation with him even though you had this information, right?
Yes.
And you went to New York, correct?
We did go to New York, yes.
Pardon?
Yes, we did. Went to New York.
And then you drove, or you went to a PPL conference also, right?
No, it was a retreat.
And then you went to Huntington Beach, right?
That was the retreat I was referring to.
Okay, so you went to Huntington Beach after that, right?
Yes.
And you stayed with him, right?
Yes.
You engaged in sexual contact with him, right?
Yes.
Even though you were very upset with what you knew, right?
Yes.
You chose to go on vacation rather than break up with him at that point.
Point. She found out that he was cheating, whatever. That she was hurt, that she didn't like it, and she wanted to break up the relationship. But wait, there was a vacation to be had, so she don't want to miss out on the vacation. She's a fucking pig. She went on a vacation to, I don't care if girls don't like it. It's not a show for girls. She went on vacation with him all over to New York, had sexual intercourse, had sexual liaison with him. While she was planning to break up with him, you understand? She's still upset and hurt, but she's still doing all the stuff that it's not supposed to do. This is the problem with Jodie Arias. Jodie Arias was a fucking sick individual. I'm going to get that later. Let's listen to this.
Right?
Yes.
And so, the way you see it, it's his fault that you broke up, not yours.
Overruled to me answer.
His fault that I broke up with him?
Yes, not your fault.
Well, it was my choice, so I don't know what you mean by fault.
Well, we're talking about who was to blame. That's what fault means, right?
For the breakup?
For the breakup. That's what we're talking about, right?
I guess we each had a part in it.
Well, no, you're saying that it was his fault because he was doing these things with other women, right?
His fault for the breakup because he was doing things?
Shut up. Just fucking answer the question. Stop playing these games,
It
man.
was something he did.
Fucking
right?
idiot.
That's what motivated me to break up with him.
Yeah, motivated you.
What you did, the
Fucking
fact that
pig.
you went behind his back and looked at his telephone had nothing to do with the breakup, right?
That was also one of the reasons.
So, you believe that you were to blame for going behind his back, right?
Yes.
That was a dishonest thing to do, right?
Yes, I felt very bad about it.
Did I ask you whether you felt
Let me
bad?
ask you.
No.
See?
You know, you say that
That was a sympathy move. She wants to build that sympathy. I was bad. I felt guilty. He don't want to hear that. He don't want the jury to hear that she felt bad for doing what she did. He wants to create that monster that she is, that she went purposely behind his back, looked at his phone, looked at his text messages, and looked at his email, and she did that on purpose, and that's the reason for the breakup. And she did not feel bad, because when she added the word, I feel bad, he doesn't want the jury to hear that. I told you, the whole game plan for the prosecutor here is to keep her on a yes or no, don't babble, not to gain sympathy, or build any relationship with the juror. Okay. He's bullying her a lot, but she deserves the bullying because the way she answers the questions. Is it that? Nah. And she goes around, and then she ends up answering the question. Let me see. Go ahead, Judy.
you feel bad about it, but haven't you done similar stuff in the past?
Let's see. Habit. Look at this.
Yes.
You have a track
You
record.
did it to Bobby White,
Snooping,
right? You
right?
got his back and you got on the computer, right?
Right, boyfriend?
You went behind Matt McCartney's back and you went and talked to Bianca, right?
Two, yep.
I didn't go behind his back.
Oh, you told him that you were going to talk to Bianca before you went to talk to her?
Oh,
And
he
was
wasn't-
that-
yeah.
The answer is, ma'am, the question is, did you talk to him before you went to talk to Bianca?
No, he wasn't available.
Ma'am, did you talk to him before you went to talk to Bianca?
No, he wasn't available.
Ma'am, you said he wasn't available. Could you have waited until he was available to talk to him to see if it was okay to talk to Bianca?
Oh,
You
shit.
could have.
Yeah, but it would have been miserable for several days.
Oh, so it's all
She would
about
be
you.
miserable. She got to get out of her system. And then she'd go back and suck his dick.
Could have waited though, right? But you didn't want to.
I chose not to.
That's right, because you would have been miserable, right?
Yes,
And you didn't want to be miserable, right?
that's right.
And so this dishonesty that you said involved Mr. Alexander, you had at least on 2 previous occasions engaged in the same sort of dishonesty, right?
Yes.
And with regard to
I take that back.
That's a lawyer. Would you have a lawyer like that? See, the whole idea is, see, he went full circle. That full circle is that remember when he started with her, he started talking about her old boyfriends, how she went behind their back, she read their email, she broke up with them. She's doing the same thing over and over again with each boyfriend, and always has a bad result. But this guy, Trevor Alexander, he has some really bad result. He lost his life because of a erratic and sick behavior. You understand? Narcissistic behavior.
I don't think it was dishonest to go talk to Bianca, so I guess one time, because I do believe that the emails with Bobby was dishonest.
all right, but you did engage in conduct with regard to Mr. McCartney that he did not know about before you did it, right?
With regard to his conduct that I didn't know about?
No, I'm asking, the fact that you went to see
Deflecting! It's
that
deflecting.
Mr. McCartney did not know about it before you went to talk to her, right?
That's right.
So that was
All that, and she admitted in the end. You see that?
No, because
Jurors don't like that, man.
That was because why?
To me, that implies sneaking around, and I wasn't doing that. I was just open and direct about it.
You weren't sneaking around, you just didn't tell him about it, right? That's the distinction that you're trying to draw here.
Only because he wasn't available.
But that's the distinction that you're drawing here, is that you were not sneaking around, right?
I wasn't sneaking around.
Overruled. Right?
Yes, it was not dishonest.
With regard to Mr. Alexander, looking at his telephone or viewing his text messages wasn't the only time that you actually went to look at one of his communication mediums, right?
Yes,
In fact, you and he became an item in February of 2007, right?
yes,
And you guys, that's when you made it official. You were still living in Palm Desert, right?
yes,
And you were living in Palm Desert, but at some point you were able to look at his computer, right?
yes,
And you looked at his computer at his house in Mesa, right?
yes,
And you looked at his computer and you started to look at some of the items, what, in MySpace? Is that what it was?
yes, his MySpace.
MySpace. It's before Facebook.
And you looked at some of the emails
MySpace.
that were
What
there,
the fuck
right?
ever happened to MySpace? Why did it fell out of
Even
favor?
though you didn't have permission to look at those emails, did you?
I don't know, it was kind of a trade-off because he did it to me, so,
I'm not asking if he did it to you, am I?
no,
I'm asking if you had permission to go into his MySpace to look at his emails.
no, I guess I didn't.
And so again, this is this conduct, this dishonest conduct on your part, right?
Yes,
And you went and you looked at his emails and you saw some emails between him and at least 2 females, right?
yes,
One of them involved the New Year's Eve meeting, right?
yes.
And that upset you though, right?
Not really.
Well, it didn't make you happy, right?
It didn't thrill me.
Pardon?
It didn't thrill me.
So if it didn't thrill you, that's a way of saying it didn't make you happy, right?
That was,
Words in her mouth.
that's right.
I'm about to
And-
fall asleep.
But that happened before you and he were actually
I
officially
feel sorry for the
dating, right?
viewers.
Yes,
And so that really shouldn't have had any bearing on how you felt. Would you agree?
that wasn't the part that bothered me.
I understand that, okay, tell me what is the part that bothered you?
He lied about what it was about.
He lied to you what it was about after you confronted him, right?
No, he called me preemptively to explain.
Ma'am, you looked at his MySpace email, right?
Yes,
Then you and he had a conversation about it, right?
yes,
So it wasn't that he had a conversation about it before you looked at his MySpace email, right?
about the messages, yes, we did.
So he talked to you about them before?
Yes,
If he talked to you about them before, then why were you upset?
because I found out that what he said was false
Oh, I see. So he lied to you then, right?
about the message.
And what you were doing is you were sort of checking up on him, right?
Yeah, I was.
And that's because you wanted to see whether or not he was cheating on you, right?
No, it wouldn't have been cheating in December because we weren't together yet. I wanted to see whether it was accurate, what he told
Okay,
me.
so anything that he would tell you, you would want to check to make sure that he's being truthful to you, right?
That's not right, not anything.
Well, things having to do with relationships involving other women, right?
Sometimes.
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 Okay, so in this case, that's what you did, right?
This thing particularly, yes.
And this is the other one that involved the email that you were particularly offended by, right?
The other email?
Yes.
Yes.
And you were particularly offended because you said that the woman that was involved there was married, right?
Yes, she was married.
And what was the woman's name?
I don't want to destroy anyone's marriage.
So what was the woman's name?
Shannon Crabtree Peterson.
And so you believe she was married and you believe that they were doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, right?
She was married, and by LDS standards, what they were talking about was very inappropriate.
But all they were doing was talking, right?
They were joking about getting together for a
Right.
sexual liaison.
They were joking about it, right?
I hope it was joking.
Well, didn't you just say that they were joking about it?
Objection calls for speculation. As to whether or not they were joking.
Overall, that wasn't the question. You may answer.
Well, he was joking about his wet
Ma'am,
dream with her.
Objection,
and
Judge. I asked her
so-
whether, isn't it true that you said they were joking?
Oh,
Isn't it
I
true?
did say that, yes.
And so the reason you said that is because you believe it, right?
Because he told me later after I
Ma'am.
confronted him. At the time, I didn't know what to believe.
Ma'am, you believe it. That's why you said it, right?
When I sit here today, I believe it somewhat.
And so you believe that they were joking about it, right?
At the time, I did not, but now I think, I mean, if what he told me can be believed, they were joking.
Ma'am, isn't it true that you just said that they were joking about it, right?
Yes,
And that's what you believe, right?
that's what I'd like to believe.
Well, you are testifying to the truth, right?
Yes.
And you said they were joking about it, right?
That's the third time you asked me that. The answer is yes.
And so if they were joking about it, what is the problem?
By LDS standards, you're not supposed to have conversations of that kind of nature with someone else's spouse.
Okay, and that's because you are familiar with the code of conduct involving sexuality in the Mormon church, right?
I am now, yes.
Well, no, you were familiar with it back in February of 2007 when you looked at his MySpace account, right?
Not all of it, but regarding spouses and
MySpace.
interact with people that are married, yes.
MySpace
You were familiar
account.
enough with their code to
Long
pass
time ago,
judgment
baby.
On what was going on, right?
Yes.
As it applies to the Mormon faith, right?
Yes.
And this is knowledge that you had gained as part of your learning about the Mormon church, right?
Well, another Mormon had explained it to me, so yes.
So yes, you did learn it, right?
Yes.
And so you knew that joking about these things was not something that was viewed.
You know what he's getting at. So she has an issue right now. You know what he's trying to do, right? She is judging him for talking about sexual ideas on an email, whatever, a text at that time they were doing, or MySpace, whatever that she was. But she's having intercourse with him. She's having anal sex. She's having oral sex with him. And she's supposed to be a Mormon. He's supposed to be a Mormon. So why would you judge him or judge that lady for talking to him, whatever, or breaking behind her husband, whatever? You're doing worse. You understand? So she's trying to say, oh, nobody ever taught me that, what do you call it? Having sex out of wedlock is wrong, you know? It's not a sin. This is what you're trying to do. She has a problem right now. That's what he's trying to get at. That you have to pay attention to the prosecutor. He wants to get her to admit that she's doing worse. So why judge? Why judge other people if you're worse than them? You understand? Good. My neighbor always does his fucking garden. Every time he didn't do it all day. As soon as I started recording, he comes and does his garden.
Favorably by the Mormon church, right?
That's right.
But you believe that just joking about something, you knew about that. You knew that that's not something that was favored by the Mormon church, right?
That's right.
But in terms of whether or not sexual intercourse is concerned, you're telling us that at that point, you didn't know if it was acceptable or not in the Mormon church.
I'm not saying that.
So at that time, you did know then that sexual intimacy, whatever form they may be, was unacceptable in the Mormon church, right?
I'm not saying that either.
Well, ma'am, did you know back in February of 2007 when you were making these judgments that having oral intercourse was against the teachings of the Mormon faith?
At that time, no, I did not know.
So you believe that just kidding about things is against the Mormon religion, but not oral intercourse?
So kidding is wrong, but oral sex is
I was
okay.
married in the temple, yes.
So you're saying
That's why I get confused by religion. I'm not an atheist, but I hate these. That's why I become judgmental. So she's judging the lady for kidding about sexual ideas, but having sex And it's called a facial. That's what he was doing. He said, that's how I learned the word facial from them. It's okay. Then he told her, well, how come that's okay? Well, nobody ever taught that to me. Listen, everybody knows that's if you're religious, that's against God. You have to be married. According to any religion on earth.
Then that you believe that oral intercourse was okay back in February of 2007,
Yeah.
but not kidding between two people. That was not okay.
Yes, that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
And don't they have brochures that they hand out?
Yes,
And these brochures include talking about sexual contact, right?
yes,
You were here when Desiree Freeman testified, right?
yes,
And one of the things that we know is that even laying or touching or laying on top of somebody with their clothes on, that's against the Mormon teachings, right?
that is right.
And in fact, that's something that you did with Ryan Burns. You laid on top of him with your clothes on, right?
Yes,
Yep.
I did.
And that's against the Mormon teachings, right?
It is.
And you knew that at the time you did that, right?
I did not.
So you gained this knowledge after being...
Come on, Jody. You don't know that's wrong. Come on,
Well,
Jody. Stop that.
So this is something that is, you
Come
never
on.
thought to talk to anybody about how far you could go?
I did. I talked to Rachel.
Well, I'm
She
asking
got
whether or not-
baptized, you
well,
know.
Rachel is not somebody that's...
Then later on in the trial, she's gonna
Info
start
and
acting like she knows
everything.
everything. There's a
I don't
hypocrite.
think anybody would be.
Well, the bishop is a little bit more informed, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And if you had any questions about it, right, you could go talk to the bishop, right?
I guess technically, but I wouldn't be comfortable.
Well, you're saying technically, but you wouldn't be comfortable. You could go talk to the bishop, right?
Yes.
In fact, you went to Bishop Layton to talk about Travis Alexander's killing, right?
No.
Well, you called him, right?
Yes.
So you had no problem doing that, right?
That's right.
Did you ever have a desire on your own to go and
All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You guys just watch.
find
Okay.
out what the Mormon Church allowed in terms of sexual contact?
Yes.
Why didn't you do it?
I
Did
did.
it? Pardon?
I did.
So did you go to a bishop?
I went to Rachel.
When did you go see Rachel about this issue involving sexual contact?
It would have been August 2007 after Travis and I went all the way consensually and we were both awake.
So you went to see her in August of 2007. You converted in, or were baptized in November of 2006, right?
Yes.
And you and Mr. Alexander are engaged in sexual contact between that time, November of 2006, until what? April of 2000, or August of 2007? Is that when it is?
That whole time period.
And during that whole time period, it never occurred to you to try to find out what the Mormon Church allowed?
I did try to find out.
Did you go to a bishop?
No, definitely not a bishop.
Did you try to read any of the literature that they have?
I'd read some literature, but not the pamphlet that you were reading from.
There is a pamphlet that they have, right?
Yes.
And this pamphlet is available to everybody, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you were here when I was looking at it, and I was questioning Desiree Freeman, right?
Yes.
And this pamphlet is free, right?
Yes.
And it lays out the guidelines for what is acceptable sexual contact and not, right?
Yes.
And isn't it true that that pamphlet doesn't include anything about joking involving married people, does it?
I haven't read the whole pamphlet, but the part that I read does not include that.
It does include things that you are not to engage in oral intercourse, right?
Yes.
And any kind of intercourse, right?
Yes. This is all sexual relations.
Right? And in fact, it even talks about certain types of music that shouldn't be listened to, right?
I don't recall that part, but that sounds right.
And it also talks about what kind of videos or what kind of movies should be looked at, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that throughout this whole time, from November of 2006 to August of 2007, you did not have the opportunity to review any of this and know any of that.
Well, I didn't know it existed, so I guess then I wouldn't have had the opportunity. But if I'd known it was there, then I would have had the opportunity.
Did you think that perhaps it would have been a good idea to go ask if these materials were available?
No, I did not.
Rephrase.
You were conflicted by the fact that you saw Mr. Alexander joking with somebody who you believed to be married, right?
She was married, yes.
You were conflicted because Mr. Alexander was joking with somebody that was married, okay? Better?
Yes.
And although they had never had any sexual contact, right?
She doesn't know that or not.
Rephrase.
Even though you believe they had not had any sexual contact, right?
At that point, that was my belief.
Right. Yet, that's just people talking, yet you have no problems engaging in all this conduct that you've told us about during direct examination. You have no problem engaging in that conduct, yet you're judging somebody for just talking.
Objection, Mr. Secretary, testimony, she never said she had no problem with it.
State your question.
But
No, ma'am. You never sought counseling from a Mormon, whether it's a male or a female, about your sexual contact with Mr. Alexander, right?
I did, but not during that time period.
During the time period that we're talking about. You did not solicit aid from anybody in the Mormon church about what was the proper way to proceed, right?
That's right.
And the reason you did
lying. She's lying.
Right?
She's a liar.
No, because I didn't believe I was in the wrong.
That's the first thing they teach you. Don't fuck
weren't
anybody.
enjoying what was going on with Mr. Alexander?
I did, but that's not why I didn't seek counsel.
Get that
And in
candy back.
fact, the way you described it was that he's somebody that you cannot stay away from sexually, right?
Yes.
And he described you as his kryptonite, right?
Kryptonite. That's Superman.
And so it was situations
That
that
ass.
were mutually attractive.
He described that as his kryptonite because he was a Mormon. He was trying to, he was struggling with his religion. He's trying to maintain his faith. He meets this girl who introduced him to all this crazy shit. Anal sex, facials, mouth, everything. She knew everything. She started young. And the man is struggling with his religion. He's trying to be good. Trevor had a bad life. His mother and his father died. So when he found Mormonism, I don't know, you could say whatever you want about that religion, but he thought he had found something good that he wanted. Should I stay up there? Yeah, I look better when I'm up there. That's something good that he could, start his life again. Let's go.
Right?
Yes.
So is the reason that you were being so judgmental is because you were just plain jealous? Is that what was going on?
No, I was considering a future with him, and if he was acting that way towards someone else's wife, I wondered how he would treat me as a wife.
So if you were worried
Shut
about how
up.
he was going to treat you as a wife, then why didn't you just leave him?
Because I wanted to give him an opportunity to explain first.
And you gave him the opportunity to explain, and it sounds like you believed him, right?
Yes.
And so, as a result of you believing him, you decided to continue in this sexual relationship, right?
Yes.
Please
The
be back in
problem
designated area
is-
At 1:25. Please remember the admonition. You are excused. Have a nice lunch.
All right, they're going to go eat lunch. The whole issue here is she's not wife material. That's not a wife material. She don't know how to control her, what do you call it? Oh, okay, so they didn't go to lunch. So they're going to go to lunch. They didn't? Oh, great. Okay. Oh, she's standing like a good... When they jury, she's standing like a good police officer. Word up! Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Word up! I can't believe you're living like that. I can't believe you're living like that. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Word up. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. Word up. All right, we're not watching this shit, man. All right? Hey, back. That was a fast lunch. Good one. What? Keep on hitting that damn thing.
I only have a few more questions. Where I want to go next is, was Travis, maybe we're talking about this.
Look at all the fucking makeup she got on, that fake smile. This is before she was saying that he was a domestic abuser. This is before that. She's still claiming that they were attacked by two people. So she puts on that. Look how evil. This is evil, man. When I look at that, I mean, who you going to trust? Look at this. Angelic look.
Travis flirt with women, with other people.
Yes, and he was not secretive about it. So that was something that I wasn't aware of that aspect right away when I first met him, which was in the MGM Grand. He was very cool, very calm. And even there were people that had made comments saying, why was he on such good behavior that night? And he said that he sort of, looking back on that, he said he kind of had an agenda. And because I came off as a calm person, he was sort of trying to mirror and match. But, by nature, he's very open, very outgoing, very flirtatious. Not that that's a bad thing at all.
And so, even though you saw
Very
this
flirtatious. That's a hard word there.
phone, even though they were flirtatious, you still decided to break up with it, right?
Not for that reason.
Well, isn't that what you told us before the break, that was the reason that you broke up with him, because of these text messages?
No, it's because he was sleeping with a bunch of people.
You believe that he was sleeping with a lot of people, right?
Yes.
Do you remember telling us before the break that it was this text message, or during direct examination, that it was the text messages that were the reason for the breakup?
Right.
You did say that, though, right?
Yes.
I don't. Okay.
Here you go. Let's go to the videotape. I'm telling you.
Mr. Alexander went to Sedona and to the Grand Canyon with Desiree Freeman and Dan Freeman, correct?
Yes.
She's not wife material, man. This lady is lawyer. He eats all the lunch. Oof. All right. Hurry up, Juan. We don't got all day. We got 2 viewers here. We want to keep the viewers watching. Don't leave, please.
Exhibit 481.
I need the viewers, man.
People there.
I'm desperate. Okay. Like she's pretending she's looking at it. Ah, shut up. Fucking.
Yes, I do. I don't see a date.
She's a freak, man.
But you're
She's a
people,
freak
correct?
of nature.
And you recognize the other people, correct?
She's a freak of nature. She's evil. She's a stalker, man.
Photograph taken during the trip to Sedona, correct?
Correct.
When was it? When, generally speaking, when did you go to Sedona?
I believe it was April 2007.
And this is a true and accurate depiction of the 4 of you on this trip to Sedona, correct?
Correct.
I move for the admission of 481.
No objection.
41 is admitted.
All right. What is he putting on? He's put into evidence. I'm telling you, man. If you want to learn about court, this guy is a fucking genius, man. Too bad they got him fired after this. They were so upset at how he cheated her. Oh, this is a picture
This
of
is
them.
a photograph that was taken in Sedona, correct?
Yes.
And it shows your height relative to Mr. Alexander, correct?
Yes.
You're approximately the same height as he is, correct?
He's
Yes.
3 inches taller.
Well, this shows it right here, correct?
Yes.
How tall you are.
He's 3 inches taller. That's how fucking stalking she is. This is some scary. I don't know how tall my wife is, man. I gotta ask her tonight.
Know where they're standing or shoes they're wearing?
Oh, look at he's objecting to the height. Shut the fuck up. Sit on you fat fuck.
This shows you on that particular day.
Sit down, you fat
Mr.
fuck.
Alexander, correct?
Yes.
You have no reason to believe that you were standing on a rock and he wasn't, right?
Not that I recall, no.
And with regard to Mr. Freeman, do you have a reason to believe that he was standing on a rock?
No.
And with regard to Desiree Freeman, any reason to believe or to think that she was standing on a rock?
So they're all the same height.
That
Let's go.
shows
Hurry it up.
heights, correct?
Yes.
Ma'am, one of the things that we know about Mr. Alexander was how his ambience was in a room, correct?
Yes.
Let me show you another exhibit.
She's very dangerous, man. She's evil. Stabbed him 27 times, and 1 time in the heart, and shot him in the head, and slit his throat from side to side, and put him in the shower, and left him to die. By the time he came back, he was already decomposing. This is one fucking evil individual, man.
Exhibit 482.
That's what evil looks like.
Objection?
To anybody who's watching this little small channel here that we just started on Twix, if you want to know what evil is, right there. That's evil, right there on that table. You understand? Hurry up, Juan. You're delaying the game there, Juan. Hurry up. All right. What are you trying? He lost his job too after the trial. Everybody lost their jobs because he's evil. Anybody who came near her, they all either died or lost their job or were fired. He got cancer after that. He had to defeat cancer. He made it though. So yeah, just to let you know, he got cancer and he beat it. Okay.
Yes, and that's the other thing. When you ask me if I was angry or outraged, I'm more angry and outraged that his life was taken and that he had so much potential, that he had so many things and projects that he was working on that some will get completed and some will never get completed. He was a light, and he had so many. He brightened a room when he walked in. He literally brightened the room. Like you could just tell when Travis was, whether you were no matter what direction you were looking at, you can tell when Travis showed up because
Like Jesus.
the laughter got louder, and the conversation got happier, and just the whole energy of the room changed. And for someone like that, it almost seems like the world is a darker place now that he's not in it anymore. So I'm really angry about that. I can't imagine what his family is going through. I love my brother so much, and I know that he had a lot of siblings, and I just cannot imagine.
She killed him. She's the one who killed him.
To hear that something happened to one of my brothers.
According to that
See the family, they're like, what the fuck is she saying? That's his family. That's her brother. That's his sister. What the fuck is she saying? She killed him. She stabbed him. She shot him. She left him to decompose and become fucking maggots all over the place in the house. And she's saying, oh, he brightened the room and he walked in. He was a gift to the world. He was, everything you could think about. And this is what she was saying. He's the reason, why he's putting that on. Because now she's claiming he was physically abusing her. She was a victim of domestic violence. This is what happened. Women killing a guy or their husband, they turn into the vagina defense. That, he was beating me up. It was all a lie. But they want him to show that she was lying.
Particular excerpt in your
Look at the family. They're like, what the fuck is she saying?
And he was a great guy, it appears, to everybody that seemed to come in contact with him, correct?
Yes, it appears.
And nowhere during this conversation that you may have had with people of 48 hours did you mention this issue of him masturbating to pictures.
Oh, definitely not.
So the answer is no, you didn't, correct?
That's correct.
And it wasn't like he didn't do good things for you. He actually did a lot of, or some things that were very nice, didn't he?
Yes, wonderful things.
You gave her a car. She never gave him $1, $200 a month. She never paid for it.
You tell us about one of those occasions.
Go Juan. It's my brother Juan right there. That's the whole family. Very nice people. Oh, see how nice you have to stand still there and listen to all the lies about their son, about his. They have to be strong-hearted, man.
No objection.
43 is admitted.
Hurry up, Juan. I got no time. I don't want to lose that one viewer I got, or the 2 viewers I got. Hurry up! I don't want to get that. Trying to make it here. Yeah. Hurry up, Juan. All right, let's go. So what Juan is doing right now, he's laying the groundwork of what you should say about him. He was a nice guy. He was a loss to the world. If he walked in the room, it lit up. He was like an angel.
I just personally, I can't see any motive for myself to ever want to do this or inflict this kind of thing on Travis. Someone who's been so generous, someone who's been so kind, and someone who has opened up his home, opened up his refrigerator on many times when I didn't have enough money to go to the grocery store
eating all the
and fill
time.
up my own fridge. There were just so many things that he did, the little things. I came home from the airport once, and he let me park my car in his garage so that it was safe while I was gone. And I showed up to get my car, and there was this bag on the hood that said Cinnabon, and he knew that I liked Cinnabon. And I remember calling him before I flew out. I was flying out of Salt Lake, and in the Phoenix airport, there's a Cinnabon stand, and I always get one before I go on my flight. And I remember lamenting a little bit, saying Cinnabon's going to be closed when I get home because it's going to be late. And so he went out to the mall and got me Cinnabon so that I'd be able to have that when I got home. It's just little things that he did like that.
Watch. You make it up.
Well,
Watch.
he looked up a whole recipe online for Cinnabon and printed it out on pink paper and folded it up in there and put.
You see how pathological lie have to add shit? She wasn't satisfied with all that lies. He got her the cinnamon bun. He actually printed the recipe from a computer and gave it to her. They have to add things up to the situation. They just can't lie. You said no. You see, if I lie, I'll just lie a stupid lie. But these people have to add these small things and these stuff to make a good as a good lie. You understand? She's making this shit up about I don't think he printed anything.
Put it in there with that. And he gave me a $10 gift card for Cinnabon. So it's like...
And a gift card.
Little things like those that's just one example of so many little things that he's always done for me. And not just for me, but for everyone that he
Making this shit up.
And in fact, ma'am, after you moved, you actually thanked him for everything that he had done to you, right?
Yes.
Let's take a look at an exhibit.
Right now, he's building the platform. Or he's building his case as she was saying a lot of nice things about him on TV all over. Why all of a sudden he's a monster, that he liked children? She claimed that he liked children, like little kids. Evil. She is evil.
Yes, I recognize him.
And you were the person that sent them, correct?
Yes, this wasn't before I moved, this was after.
Right, and what date is indicated on there?
April 18th, 2008.
April, that's what, April? That's 2 months before she killed him.
Move for the admission of exhibit 484.
That's a month and 20 days before she killed him.
No objection.
Wait a minute.
This was after you had moved, correct?
Yes,
This was after you were in Wairika, correct?
yes,
This was when you were in Wairika doing your day-to-day activities, whatever they may be, correct?
correct.
When you were not seeing Mr. Alexander on a daily basis, correct?
Yes,
This is after you had broken up with him, right?
yes,
It
Okay.
was during a time
All the stuff she's sending him, she already broke up with him in June, right? In June of 2007, right? And she's still sending him notes, having phone sex with him on the phone, having sexual intercourse until she killed him in June of 2008. So her stalking behavior did not stop. She actually moved back to imagine you were a boyfriend, right? You live in a different state, you break up, so you go back to your home, right? In California, she goes back. No, she comes back and moves right next to his house. And she always finds excuse to come to his house, like, oh, I need this, I need a pepper, oh, I'm hungry, I need this. Oh, she come and clean up the house. You know, she always had him, and she always used sex as a bait for him. She always baited him into having sex. And eventually that's what did it in him, sex.
when, according to you, the fog had lifted, right?
yes,
And
Oh.
this is after the time, after you claim that there has been some physical violence, you wrote this, right?
that's right.
And we agree that the time is 7 hours ahead, correct?
Yes,
And so it's on April 18th that you write this, and you say, Travis, I thank you for being such an amazing friend. You are a rock, a light, and an inspiration. I love you dearly. You were still in love with him.
This is what it says. That if he was beating her up, if there was domestic violence, why is she sending him these love letters or these love notes? You understand what he's doing here?
Weren't you?
I wouldn't say in love, but I loved him very much.
So when you say you love him dearly, that doesn't mean that you have any physical attraction to him. You just love him like a friend, correct?
That's not true.
Well, when you say you love him dearly, is that the same as saying that the way you love Matt McCartney, or is this a little bit different?
It's similar, but there was no longer a sexual attraction with Matt McCartney.
But there was a sexual attraction with Mr. Alexander, correct?
Correct.
And you indicate that you appreciate all of the ways you've gone out of your way for me, correct? You indicate that, right?
Yes,
And then you say, thank you, thank you, thank you, right?
yes,
This is not in line with what you've been, with the person that you've been talking to us about, is it?
yeah, it is. It's very consistent with how he was.
Well, you've been telling us before that he was mean. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes, he was also that.
And you've been telling us that in addition to being mean, he was somebody who physically abused you, right?
Yes, he did.
And that he would raise his voice to you, right?
Yes, he did.
Yet, once you're free of him, and after the fog has lifted, you're thanking him and telling him what an inspiration he is, right?
Yes,
That sort of, the way that is presented, that doesn't seem to correspond, does it?
Contradiction, yeah, it's a contradiction. How, if he's
He has two
abusing
versions,
you,
correct?
how come you sending him all these love letters?
Mr. Alexander,
Objection on that.
See, the lawyer's trying to help out, see?
I think I've given more than 2 versions.
That's what a good lawyer does. If you had a good lawyer, he'll try to help you out on the stand. If you get stuck on a question, he'll object to the fucking light bulb. Or the light bulb objection. What? The light bulb is too bright, Your Honor. Just to give her a chance to get her breath together, to get her thinking. That's what good lawyers do. He's a good lawyer.
well, you've given us one where we've just discussed about him being physically abusive and mean and loud to you, correct?
He never touched you.
Yes,
And in fact, during the trial, you even referenced that he used to grill you, right?
yes,
And yet, the writings that we have here don't support that, specifically exhibit number 484, now that you're away, doesn't support what you've been telling us, does it?
Objection on that.
Rephrase.
See, that's an objection. What he's saying is that you're not in Arizona. You're in California. You're 1,000 miles away. So the problem, if you're saying that he's abusive and you're afraid of him, why are you sending him text messages telling him he's a rock, he's a solid, he's a good man, he's the love of your life, he's a person of goodwill? So I mean, if there's an abuse, I mean, it doesn't make no sense. There's a contradiction here. Her whole defense is she killed him and did all that stuff, and she went into a fog. It's very funny the way she says it. We're gonna see that later, not today, maybe tomorrow. But the whole idea is that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, right? It can't make any sense. If you're saying this man beat me up, abusive, I was scared of him. He used to yell at me, but as soon as I broke up with him, which I did on my own, and left Arizona on my own, I'm writing him love letters and notes. that he's the best that he in the world. It doesn't make no fucking sense, does it? Right?
This is at odds with what you're telling us.
It is at odds, yeah.
To Mr. Alexander, right?
Shut the lawyer up.
At odds with what?
Oh no.
Mr. Alexander's portrayal that you wanted us to believe during direct examination.
No, I believe I said during direct examination that he did many wonderful things and that he had amazing sides to him.
But you don't ever mention in any of these text messages, for example, this one right here, all you can do is gush on him, over him and thank him, right?
Yes, he flourished on compliments.
Is that yes?
I said yes.
When you say that he flourished on compliments,
See?
it appears that you're saying
See how
that
evil she is? She said he flourishes on compliments. She said that she's doing it just to make him feel good. It's a lie. Because what she's saying, she doesn't have the receipt for it. She doesn't have any police record. She doesn't have a hospital record check-up she made up. She doesn't have injuries. She doesn't have any pictures like the fucking Amber Heard did. And the whole idea is she didn't have anything. And she have these receipts that I love you. You're the best. You're the best that ever happened to my life. Everything. But all of a sudden, he's a monster. He beat me up. He's an abuser. He's an evil monster. I hate that, man. That's called the vagina defense.
you're only doing it in an insincere fashion because you want to shower them on him just because he wants them.
Yeah, it's
At
a
times
lie.
they were a little insincere and that they were somewhat exaggerated.
No.
He was a wonderful person.
You're honest.
What you're saying here, though, is just this particular exhibit, number 484, when you're saying, or you're gushing, whatever the term you want to use on this, it just appears that, from what you tell us, that that's not true, right?
Rephrase.
Ma'am, when you say that you were sending these because Mr. Alexander liked them, that's what you said, right?
No, I said he flourished with compliments.
All right, use the word he flourished on compliments, right?
Yes.
And if he flourished on compliments, the way it sounds is that you were not sincere about the compliment.
Well, I believe he was amazing. He was a rock.
So she's stuck. First she says he flourishes on compliments. Now he say you're not sincere. You're a liar. Then she goes no. Then she's stuck. You know she don't know what to say. She wants to make him a monster. At the same time she doesn't look like a lie. So you know when you're lying it's hard to keep up, but you can't keep up.
To me. He was a light and an inspiration at one time. I did love him dearly. I still do. And
Yeah,
he
still
brought
do.
us
After all that shit you did to him.
express my gratitude.
So with regard to this particular love, is that how you believe love should be shown like it was on the evening of June 4th of 2008?
Watch. See her lawyer comes up.
Here, what, you've indicated that all
That's
of
a
this
good
is true.
lawyer.
So is this one of the ones that was sincere or not?
I believe I was being sincere in this one.
So this
Okay.
one, you are telling the truth.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So we went through all that shit. In the end, she's telling the truth. First, she said he flourishes on compliments. She tried it to deflect. Blah, blah, blah. In the end, she admits that's the whole problem with her. That's why she has no credibility with the jury. She doesn't have any.
As part of what happened after you killed Mr. Alexander, there was a memorial service, right?
Yes.
And you attended it, right?
Yes.
The memorial service was in Mesa, Arizona, correct?
Correct.
And what time of the day was it?
I don't remember.
Was it in the morning or the afternoon?
I don't remember. It was daytime. I have no memory of that part.
And many people attended, right?
Yes.
One of the people that attended was Mimi, correct?
Yes.
You actually went up to Mimi, correct?
Yes, I did.
So even though that you say that you're shy, you actually were the person that approached her, right?
Yes.
And
So he's talking about his memorial. Remember, he was supposed to go to Cancun, Mexico, and he picked that girl to go to. She was not even his girlfriend, just a friend. And when she found out, that's why she killed him over the trip to Mexico. So during the memorial, she still wants to go see that girl that he was trying to make he liked and try to get a feeling of her. It shows you even after his death, he still has that fucking evil in her, man. Look at her face. Look at her. Her chin is bigger than her forehead.
you talked to her about Mr. Alexander, correct?
Briefly, yes.
So that is a yes, correct?
Yes.
And it was during this conversation that you say that that's when you first learned that he was going to Cancun with her, right?
I can't remember because another woman had told me right before.
She knows.
She didn't say her name, but I assumed it was probably.
You know he's going to Cancun. That's why you
So,
killed him.
I don't remember if Cancun was discussed.
Yes, it
Did you
was.
speak with Mimi Hall about her going to Cancun with Mr. Alexander?
I don't remember if Cancun was discussed.
But you could have discussed it, right?
Could have, but it was very short, and I don't think Cancun came up, but it might have. I don't remember that.
But it was at this memorial, whether it was from Ms. Hall or somebody else, that you, according to you, first learned about him going to Cancun with somebody else, right?
That's what
Yes,
killed
well,
him.
I assumed.
Is that yes?
I assumed. I didn't. I actually learned it from Detective Flores, but I assumed because of the way.
No. You
So
know.
What
it's
you're
not-
telling us is that at the memorial service, do you know the date that that was?
I think it was June 15th.
At the memorial service, you did not learn that he went to Cancun with Mimi Hall.
Objection, doesn't make it a compound question.
He was supposed to go on vacation on the 10th. She killed him on the 4th.
I think I assumed it, but I got like solid confirmation from Detective Flores.
So you assumed it at the time that you met Ms. Hall then?
Trying to think. I might have spoken to Ms. Hall before Brenda. I don't remember when.
Number one rule: when you commit a crime and you make up all these lies, they always told you when you're lying, you have a lot to remember. But you have to keep it straight. You have to keep all those lies that you make up. And every time you come to the store, you embellish or you forget certain part because it's a lie. But once you're telling the truth, you don't have nothing to remember. You don't have to remember nothing. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was at the candy store. Yeah, I saw the guy steal a Snicker bar, the candy bar. I saw him steal that candy bar. You know, you don't have nothing to remember. But when you lie, you have a lot to remember. This is her problem right now. She has told so many lies, she can't keep it straight anymore. You understand? And it's going to show with the jury. And once you lose credibility with the jury, it's over. It's over. That's it. Even a little lie. Jury are human beings, just like me and you. You know, they're regular people. Once they see you lie in small lies, even lies that you don't have to lie about, then they don't believe you no more.
When Brenda came up to me.
So what I'm asking though is, did you or did you not learn that Mr. Alexander was going to Cancun with Mimi Hall at this memorial service?
She knows.
I don't know if I definitively knew it, but I was pretty sure that she was the one.
She knows.
And why do you say that you were pretty sure? Is it because of a conversation that you had with Ms. Hall?
Because of the conversation I had with Brenda.
And based on the conversation with Brenda, you believe that that's when you learned about Mr. Alexander going to Cancun with Mimi Hall, correct?
Yes.
You and he had discussed him going to Cancun before, right?
Yes.
And you were not, he didn't ask you to go, right?
What was that?
He did not ask you to go, correct?
That's correct.
But you knew he was going with someone, didn't you?
Yes.
You know,
the,
that's
the trip allows for a second person on the ticket, so.
The reason, believe it or not, the reason she killed him because he would not take her on vacation to Cancun. He picked somebody else, and she wasn't even his girlfriend. She already broke up with him. She's in California, and why would he take you? And what he's looking for, Mr. Alexander, who was the victim in this case, was looking for a wife. He was struggling with his faith, with his religion, and she comes into the picture like the devil. She show him a lot of fucking nasty shit, sexual behavior that he never did before. Sexual decadence, well, I don't know how to say the word, whatever it is. And he's moved on. He doesn't want her anymore. He's looking for somebody, for a wife. He wants to settle down. And she ended it. She killed him just because he didn't take her to Mexico. That's all.
So you knew he was going with somebody, right?
Yes.
And you knew he was going with somebody back on June 2nd of 2008, right?
Yes, I assumed it was a babysitter.
Well, I'm not asking you who you assumed it with. Did you know back on that date that he was going to go with somebody?
Yes.
And back on May 28th of 2008, you also knew that he was going to Cancun, right?
Yes.
And you knew that he was going to Cancun with somebody else, right?
Yes.
And this was about the time, because of the telephone call of May 10th, that he was still talking to you about sex, right?
Yes.
And even though he was talking to you about sex, he was actually, you knew, going to go to Cancun with somebody else, right?
Yes.
Let me show you an exhibit.
Oof, stop.
And his going to Cancun with somebody else did not upset you, correct?
No.
And his going to Cancun and not inviting you did not upset you, right?
No.
Take a look at Exhibit 485 and see if you recognize this.
On my nose, man.
Yes.
This is actually a writing by you, correct?
That's correct.
And it was submitted at the time of the memorial service, right?
Yes.
And how did it work? There was a page there that you signed? How did it work?
There was a photo album, sort of in a scrapbook, how I remember it, with a lot of blank paper around the different photos so that people could leave comments.
You actually brought the photograph that's attached to this, right?
I think it was already put together, but I emailed it to the person putting it together because that's one of my photos.
So this is one of your photographs, though, correct?
Yes.
And how it got there, maybe that you sent it to somebody and then they put it in the book, correct?
I believe so.
And then you actually signed it, though, right?
I didn't sign it, I just wrote in it. I didn't want to leave my name.
In other words, this is your writing, correct?
Yes.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 45.
No objection.
45 is admitted.
Look at you, you loser. Look at you. You wasted your life. 27 years old, you're going to go for the rest of your life in jail for some dumb shit.
Exhibit 485.
You have to eat pussy for the next 50
It
years.
says, Travis, you're beautiful on the inside and out, doesn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of a lie based on what you've told us here in court today?
Objection, argumentative.
You see?
Stand rephrased.
That's not true based on what you told us here in court, right?
Overruled.
I believed that he had inner beauty, yes. So it is true.
So you think somebody who masturbates to pictures of little boys is beautiful on the inside, right?
I don't think that aspect of him is beautiful at all. I think it's sickening.
Well, I'm asking you, you did write beautiful on the inside, and yet you knew, according to you, that he had this issue, right?
Yes.
And so if you write that, you've indicated that it was a problem for you, right?
It was.
And you indicated that you'd even obtain a pamphlet, correct, to give to him?
Yes, too.
And you also indicated that you believed that he needed help, right?
He did need help.
Right, and you've indicated that to us on direct examination, a couple of times at least, right?
That's right.
But yet here you're right that he's beautiful on the inside, knowing all of that.
Yes, he hated those parts of himself.
Pardon?
Oh, shut the fuck
That's
up.
what we wanted to be.
Whether he wanted to be it or not, somebody who has those issues, you still think is beautiful on the inside, and that's why you wrote it.
I believe that he could get better.
I'm not asking you if
I feel sorry for his family. Look at it looking at her. She's calling their brother, their dead brother, that she killed a pedophile. That's the worst thing you could do to a human being. He's not there to defend himself. You understand what I'm saying? Hello? I hope this is working. It is working, right? So, to call a person a pedophile, then you're beautiful in the inside and outside. Because that was a lie. She's making this shit up after he's dead. Because when you're dead, you can't defend yourself. So she's picking a hot button issue like pedophilia and try to stick it on this person who did nothing but good. He fed her. He let her sleep over. She used to run away from her mother. She had the coat to his house. She comes there and eat and leave. I mean, no good deed goes unpunished. Isn't that what they say? No good deed goes unpunished.
you believe that he could get better, man. I'm asking you whether or not somebody is beautiful on the inside if they have the problem that you have told us about.
Objection, ask and answer this about the third time.
Shut up, man. Stop trying to help out. Overruled.
What was the question?
See? See? She's playing that game. What was the question? He's not going to give it to you. He's going to make him do it so you don't do it again. Because every time you do that and he has to go to this guy to do it and it takes a long time, everybody in the court gets mad at you. All right, you want to waste our time? Go ahead. Actually, what a fucking idiot. She wants to waste time with the courts.
I'm not asking if you believe if he could get better, ma'am. I'm asking you whether or not beautiful on the inside is I'm sorry. I'm asking you whether or not somebody that's beautiful on the inside, if it had that problem you told us about.
I believed that he had aspects of himself that were beautiful and some that were ugly, just like I do.
So what you're saying is that statement here that he was beautiful on the inside is a qualified statement.
I don't know what you mean by qualified.
Well, it doesn't tell the whole truth. It just tells part of the truth.
Of course, this is a memorial book.
Pardon?
Of course, this is a memorial book.
You didn't have to write it in that memorial book, right?
I didn't have to.
And you didn't have to go to the memorial service, right?
That's right.
One of the things that you told us was that, well, you and Mr. Alexander had an agreement, right?
Yes.
And this agreement, according to you, was that even if the memorial service or the funeral was in Antarctica, the two of you would attend each other's funeral, depending on who outlived the other, right?
He said he would come to mine even if it was in Antarctica.
Ma'am, I'm asking you whether or not you and he, or whether or not you told us previously that you and he had an agreement to attend each other's funeral depending on who died first.
It wasn't quite like that.
Well, didn't you tell us that on direct examination, that that was part of the reason that you went, because you guys had this understanding?
I didn't go to his funeral. I tried to go and I didn't make it.
The memorial service.
That wasn't part of the agreement.
Well, but you did mention that you believed that he would have done the same thing for you, right?
Yes.
But in terms of this attending the memorial service, if the situation were reversed, do you think that he still should have gone to your memorial service if he had killed you?
Objection. Argumentative call.
She put on that schoolgirl look
What
with
was
the
the agreement?
glasses.
What was
She
your
doesn't wear
understanding?
glasses. They just put those glasses for her.
I told him
See?
one time that I admired his speaking skills, and then if I ever passed away, if he would, I would like it if he gave a eulogy at my funeral. Because
What a
he would
fucking
edify
fraud.
me.
What a fraud. What a
With him, If he
fraud.
passed away before you, what was the agreement?
What a fraud.
It wasn't discussed, I don't think.
Oh, so you didn't have any understanding whatsoever with regard to whether or not you would attend his memorial service?
It was more about my funeral.
Well, do you remember telling us something different on direct examination?
Oh, you made sure you went first, didn't you?
Um,
She made sure you went first. She had this deal.
Do you remember on direct examination telling us that you felt compelled to go because of this agreement that the two of you had?
that's why I felt compelled to go,
Right. Because you believed there was an agreement, right?
because he would have gone to mine.
And you believe that that was sort of an unwritten agreement between
Mind
the two
you,
of
we're talking about
That's how you
some
portrayed it to us
fucking made
on
up shit
direct
right now.
examination, Right?
I can't believe it.
The eulogy part was sort of an unwritten agreement.
I'm talking about just actually going. I'm not talking about the eulogy. Isn't it true that in direct examination, the way you portrayed it to us was that the reason that you went was because you and he had talked about it, and that you felt compelled to go based on those conversations?
Yes,
And those conversations included going to Antarctica, if that were the case, right?
Yeah.
he said he would.
And that's how much the commitment, that's how strong the commitment was to attend each other's memorial services, right?
I don't recall making a commitment to attend his services, but this is the reason I felt compelled to go.
Because of the conversation you had with him, right?
Yes,
No one knew about this conversation that you had with him, right?
She made it up. She made it up. It was a
So it
fraud.
was just you and him, right?
yes,
And so if nobody knew about it, you really didn't have to go. And nobody would have been the wiser, right?
Yeah.
that's right.
But you made the choice to go, right?
Yes, I did.
Hello.
You're also right. You always told me that I never stopped believing in you, and I know that you always believed in me, right? That's what it says, right?
Yes,
You always believed in him, right?
yes, I did.
And even though, according to you, he would get this mean look on his face, and he would come charging after you down the hallway, you still believed in him, right?
Yes, that wasn't who he wanted to be.
I'm not asking you if that's what he wanted to be. Did I ask
Yeah.
you that, man?
No?
I'm asking you whether or not you still believe
Told
in
you,
him.
answer the question, that's
For
it.
example,
He's not gonna let you have
when
any
he threw
bullshit.
you down and choked you. You still
You got
believe
the
in him,
wrong
right?
prosecutor, baby.
I believed in his potential still, yes.
So the answer is yes, right?
Yes,
And even though he may have been on the couch kissing with some girl in August of 2007, you still believed in him, right?
yes, I wasn't his girlfriend.
Pardon?
I wasn't his girlfriend, so yeah, of course, I still believed in him.
Yeah, but he
You were
snuck
his
in
girlfriend
there.
in August of
I was
2007?
not, I wasn't.
So you still believed in him even though he was kissing on some girl, and you still believed he was courting you at that time. You still believed in him.
Well, it cheapened his efforts.
I understand that it may have.
Eh, shut up, sheep in his efforts. Like he really cared. He don't want her. He don't want her.
Right?
Certainly.
And if it cheapened his.
He couldn't get rid of her. He couldn't leave her out of his house.
Perhaps
She
he
used to
wasn't
stalk his
believing in you
girlfriends.
As much as you indicate in this card or this writing, correct?
Objection calls for speculations to what Mr. Alexander believed.
She used to go and stalk any girl he goes out with. She'll send them some email and stalk them and scare the shit out of them. She started slashing his tires. This is a fucking sick woman, man.
It's the other way around.
Overruled.
I think we're talking about different aspects of what we believed about each other.
Well, you say that you never stopped believing in him, right?
Yes,
And you never stopped believing him, irrespective of what you told us the issues were, right?
that's right.
And these issues that, according to you, he wasn't getting any help for, right?
I don't know if he
Well,
was or not. I
well-
don't believe he was. He said he would. I don't believe he did.
Right, so you know that he's not getting, according to you, your belief is that he's not getting help for any of these issues, right?
Yes,
He's not doing anything about it, right?
I don't know that.
Well, isn't that what your belief is? I'm asking about your belief. I'm not asking about what you know. I'm asking about your belief.
Objection.
I-
She said she didn't know.
Overruled.
I believe he was doing things, not seeking professional help, but he said he spent a lot of time in prayer about it and things like that.
So you believe he was praying about it then, right?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not you believed he went to a bishop to talk about it?
He did talk to a bishop about his,
Is that a yes or a no, ma'am?
well, I really don't know.
Okay. Says, thank you for sharing so much, and thank you for all your generosity. This world has been blessed because you have been here, right?
Yes.
So you believe somebody who does the sort of horrible act that you described is a blessing to the world?
He did bless the world in ways.
I'm asking you, my question's a little different. You believe that somebody that did whatever it is that you allege he did is a blessing to the world?
That is not a blessing to the world.
So this wasn't true then?
No, I just said that he did bless the world in ways.
Ma'am, one of the other things that we know about you and him is that you and he had quite the relationship behind closed doors, right?
Yes.
And they're called private relationships for a reason, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that you complained about on direct examination was that, well, nobody knew what your business or what your affairs were. Do you remember complaining about that?
I don't remember the context, but I may have said something to that effect.
And it upset you that these interactions between you and him were behind closed doors.
No, are you talking about this?
So,
What activities are you referring to?
well, for example, you complained that when you went out, he didn't sort of treat you in the way that indicated that you perhaps were closer to him than you were.
That's correct.
He wouldn't hold your hand, right?
Usually not.
He wouldn't kiss.
Because he didn't love her. He didn't love her. It was all about sex. Their relationship was a sexual relationship. She used sex as a bait to keep him coming. Every time he gets away from her, she'll come over and give him whatever he wants. And then she bring him right back. They stalk that. And if she's not near him, she'll call him on the phone and have phone sex with him. That's why he never touched her hand. He's embarrassed. That's not a person he loves. I mean, when you love a person, you walk around, with their hand. I used to go to the mall when I was a kid. As a young man, I used to go to the mall and I hold my girlfriend's hand. That was love. I didn't care what people said, But the problem is he don't want to be, he just want her because what he saw out of her was that she was a sexual being. She was I don't know the word, critter, whatever the word the fuck it is. That's why he wouldn't hold her hand, because there was no love in there. She was not going to be his wife. Let's just put it that way. That's not going to be his wife.
Kiss you in public, according to you, right?
He did, as long as we weren't on our own home turfs.
So, but in certain circumstances, he wouldn't kiss you when you were out there, right?
That's correct.
And all of this bothered you, didn't it?
Of course it did.
Yeah, and it bothered you because, on the other hand, he's very attentive when the doors are closed, but not when people are around, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And you could have, though, put an end to that, couldn't you?
Yes.
You could have left, you could have gone to Wairika, correct?
Yes.
But you chose not to, right?
Not right away.
Well, you chose not to.
Because she's thirsty.
2008, right?
Thirsty.
That's when I did it. I made the decision prior to that.
All right, you made the decision in March of 2008, right?
Actually, it was Christmas 2007.
Well, do you remember that we took a look at your journal in March of 2008, and that's when you told him that you were going to go to Wairika?
That's right.
And also, we know that you left in April of 2008, right?
Yes.
So you're free to go at any time that you want, right?
I was broke, so not really, but
Well, you have parents, right?
yes.
They would have helped you if you wanted to go home, wouldn't they?
Rephrase things.
You asked your mom for help to move, right?
Yes.
And she came out there, right?
Yes.
She came out here to Mesa, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
She flew, correct?
She flew into Phoenix.
And whatever happened, but she went on her way shortly after she came out here, right?
She kicked her out.
And so there was at least an indication, based on that they would help you, and what your parents would help you in whatever way they could, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't a situation that you were stranded, was it?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I didn't know that they would help me until I was desperate enough to call her, and she would. She
Well-
said she would.
You indicated that you called and she responded, right?
Yes.
They wouldn't know that you needed their help unless you called, right?
Well, Matt called once, but unless I called and asked for that kind of help, I guess.
When, on your first occasion that you called your mother, isn't it true that she agreed to help, right?
Yes.
And in fact, the way to help was that she even came out here to try to help you load the truck, right?
I think I got the truck after she left, but her purpose was to come down here and help me load the truck and move.
You just didn't have the truck at the time, right?
Not yet.
And so it seems like when you say that, you protest and say, well, you know, I was sort of stuck here in Arizona. You weren't really stuck here in Arizona, were you?
I don't know. I mean, my parents have been financially.
Well, what the one is trying to say here, she was not under. There was no reason for her to stay in Arizona. She broke up with the guy months ago. She's still having sexual intercourse with him, and he's not her boyfriend no more. And she could have left at any time. She claimed she had no money. Her mother came there with a plane to help her get back, and she kicked her mother out and sent her back home. So she was intention on evil. Evil was there already. Her intention of evil is already there. She can't let go. The guy's moved on. He's moved on, man. He's won. You know, he's going about his life because he saw there's no future with this animal over here. Because first of all, she's. Look at that. I mean, I don't want to. You know, I don't want to be. Look. Ugh.
Capable at times and other times not. So at the time I called, they were able to help me. They were in a position to help me.
And so they did. The only time that you asked them, at least as it involves this case, the only time that you asked them, they were able to provide some help, right?
Yes.
And in fact, when you got to Wairika, you even had a place to stay, right?
Yes.
You didn't want to stay with your parents, though, right?
There were no bedrooms there. That's right.
So you didn't want to stay with your parents, right?
No, I didn't.
You preferred to stay with your grandparents, correct?
Yes.
And so you had a place to go to, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you could get a job there if you wanted to, right?
So what you're trying to say is you could have had a life.
Right? In fact,
Should have got a
you
life.
Casa Ramos, according to you, right?
Well, it depends on who hires. I mean, I searched and hunted, and I did not get a job for a while. And I finally was hired somewhere.
You did get a job at Casa Ramos, didn't you?
Yes.
And this was in Wairika, correct?
Yes.
And when you were working at Casa Ramos, you had your own money, right?
Yes.
Nobody took it away from you, right?
No.
And in fact, you weren't lending or giving any money to Mr. Alexander at that point, right?
Nope.
I was paying back a debt that I owed him.
But that's not giving money to him, is it?
She gave him one check for $200, and he never cashed it, and he died before he cashed it. Because he had given her a car, and she messed up the car, the BMW, and he asked her to give him $200 a month. The first check she gave him, it was never cash. So, you know, don't try to make it like you were paying him some fucking money you owed him. He never cashed the check, man. Never cashed the check.
Giving it willingly.
Well, if you have a debt, that's not, and you give money.
She
for
never
that, that's-
cashed it, Juan.
It was not a gift. It was a repayment that I was
Right.
giving him.
And in fact, the terms were pretty loose on that, correct?
Loose, yeah.
And whatever you could afford, he basically would accept, right?
He's like, give me anything you can to get the
Yeah, he
fuck out
said
of my
you could
life.
Keep it to at least $100 a month, but pay more anytime you can pay more.
They were loose, it was a loose agreement, right?
Yes.
It's like
He
for
wasn't
20.
putting any financial pressure on you, right?
And I'm going to tell you, she's using that payment as a way to get to stay in contact with him. He should just say, you can have the card, I don't want anything. So the problem with stalkers is they have to keep on coming. They need a reason. That he used to find her in his house. He had a place where the dog goes through. She used to go in through it where the dog goes in. He'll come in here with his girlfriends, and he'll find her by sitting right there in the dark. That shit was scary, man.
Not at first.
When you say not at first, that implies that he was putting pressure on you at some point, right?
Yes, he did.
And it was an amount mentioned?
No. It
And was there ever the threat of him going to court to get the money?
wasn't.
No.
And in fact, he actually even was trying to help you with the car, the one that had lost the transmission and had all those problems when you started to tow it, right?
What do you mean?
Well, he was trying to find out who was responsible for that on your behalf, wasn't he?
I think I was. I had called the law firm. He called a law firm. We were waiting for calls back on it.
But he attempted by calling a law firm, right?
I don't remember if he called his directly or, I mean, I know that I called attorneys on it, and I think he was doing his own research on it as well.
And when you told him that this had happened, he wasn't upset with you, was he?
No, he wasn't.
And in fact, when you told him that this happened, he tried to do the best that he could for you, right? Because
Yes.
you wrote that he felt bad for you, right?
Yes.
And in fact, the way he handled that situation, you actually in your journal called him your hero, right?
Yes.
So it appears that you're in Wairika, this individual, Mr. Alexander, is in the Mesa area, and there doesn't seem to be any other tie other than this sexual bond that the two of you seem to have, right?
Well, that in the car, I guess.
Well, but the car was a loose bond, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
You could mail the payment and not talk to him ever, right?
See, the card was a bond. She needed that card. She don't want to pay. She just needed to have some connection or to have a conversation with him all the time. This is what diseased people do or narcissistic crazy people do. They need something to go back to or excuse to continue that relationship, even if it doesn't mean anything. You see how he said, you had no more anything to buy. She said the card. He goes, you can send the checks without talking to him.
That's right.
And you could conceivably pay him off in one payment. Not that you probably would, but you could in one payment, and that would be the end of it, right?
The end of our communication?
No, the end of the issues involving the car, right?
Yes.
And you wouldn't have to communicate anymore if you really didn't want to, right?
After the car was paid and I had the title, no, we wouldn't have to.
Right. And so, but you did have this sexual bond, right?
Yes.
And it appeared that you wanted to be with him as much as he wanted to be with you.
That would be accurate.
And so that when we talk about, or when you tell us things like, well, when I was over at Sky and Chris Hughes' house, approximately a week after you met him, and you indicate that, well, that you had oral sex, and you said that you were uncomfortable with that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, you were pretty attracted to him, weren't you?
My attraction didn't develop that quickly.
So are you saying that you did that even though you didn't want to?
Yes.
And did you tell him that?
No.
Did you think that he was a mind reader and would know that you didn't want to do that?
No.
And one of the things that you said that was kind of striking about that was that when he was performing oral sex on you, that you said he sure knew what he was doing. Do you remember saying that on direct examination?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, doesn't it take one to know one?
Objection, Your Honor, argument.
How do you know he was so good unless you had previously been exposed to that activity?
I was previously exposed to that activity
So-
in my prior relationships.
So there wasn't anything wrong with him being experienced in that area, was there?
Not in my opinion, no.
No. So when you said that he sure was experienced in that area, you didn't mean to be saying that was a negative thing, right?
No.
And the other thing that you said, well, really wasn't your cup of tea that time, right?
That's correct.
You could have stopped at any time and said, I don't want to see you anymore, right?
Yes.
Because that was really the first time you had ever seen him, right?
No, that would have been our
No,
second
I mean
meeting.
alone, in private.
Second.
You had had some sort of sexual contact with him before that?
No, no sexual contact. I'm talking alone private.
I'm talking about sexual contact.
Okay.
Based on what happened there and the sexual contact at that point, you said, well, I wasn't really that interested in him at that point, right? You just said that.
There was an interest, but the deep level of my attraction had not developed to its extent.
So you
Bring it
weren't
up.
that attracted to him, right? Would that be fair to say or not?
Well, when you say that attracted, I was attracted to him, but it felt like it was just too soon, is all.
Well, you said my attraction hadn't developed to that point yet, which appears to say that you weren't attracted to him to have sex with him on that occasion, right?
Not yet to that level.
So you keep saying that, yeah, I'm just talking about that particular point. I just want you to focus on that point. At that point, you were not sexually attracted to him, right?
I wouldn't say that.
Well, so you were sexually attracted to him.
On some level, I believe I was.
And so being sexually attracted to him, this was an activity that was enjoyable to you, right?
It otherwise could have been, but I just felt uncomfortable.
Well, you're saying you felt uncomfortable, and are you saying then that it was not an enjoyable situation for you?
Internally, no. So therefore, physically, I wasn't able to enjoy myself. But there was nothing outwardly wrong with the scenario because,
Well-
all the elements were there other than those things.
If you weren't enjoying it internally, and if you weren't enjoying it externally, it appears that what you're saying is that you're not enjoying it at all. Because there's only the internal and the external, right?
Yes.
Overall, two answers.
Yes.
So you weren't, you were not enjoying it, that is what you're saying.
Once it progressed to the oral sex, I was no longer enjoying it.
You could have told him to stop though, right?
Yes,
But you didn't, right?
that's right.
You never showed any indication that this activity was unwelcome, right?
That's right.
There was no way for him to know that this activity was unwelcome, right?
That's right. In fact, I think I acted like
The
I liked
answer is
it.
yes, right?
That's right.
And so, after that, and really what we...
So in other words, she had all the options. She was not handcuffed to the wall or anything like that. So she had all the options to leave the relationship, to ignore him, not to talk to him no more. Because he's not her boyfriend no more. Why is she hanging out? Why she keeps on giving, Why? You understand what I'm saying here?
we have for that sort of assertion, all we have is your word, correct?
Yes.
We don't have, for example, any video or anything like that that would show us what happened then to see whether or not you were enjoying this particular activity, correct?
That's correct.
And with regard to the other time, the situation in the car, again, you indicated that you were uncomfortable with it, right?
Somewhat, yes.
If you were uncomfortable the first time, and you have the ability to say no, you could have stopped the second time, right?
Yes.
That was a choice that you made, correct?
Yes.
For whatever reason, you made the choice to be with them that second time, right?
Yes, I did.
And so when you talk about, well, I was uncomfortable about it, I felt bad about it, I felt bad about it, or whatever the terms are that you use, at some point, even though you felt that way, that was your responsibility to let the other party know that perhaps you weren't into it as much as they were, right?
Yep.
What do you mean?
Oh,
You mean if I
stop
didn't
it.
want to proceed with it?
Pardon?
Then it would have.
Ah, stop that shit,
Right,
yeah.
That's right.
you could have told him no, right?
I could have, yes.
And you've done that before in your lifetime, haven't you?
Yes.
And one of the things that you kept saying on direct examination was that, well, I felt that I liked him and didn't want to hurt his feelings, or something like that. Do you remember saying something like that you didn't want to hurt his feelings?
Yes.
Saying no to you, the fact that you would have said no, you think would have hurt his feelings?
I felt that way, like it would have been a blow to his ego.
So you felt that it would have been a blow to his ego then, if you would have told him no, right?
Yes.
Well, who cares about his ego?
What a phony. What a
You cared about his
phony.
ego even though you had only known him.
What a phony.
Yes.
So does that mean that you were more invested in him than you're telling us? In other words, at that point, you really had strong feelings for him?
They weren't strong, but there was an attraction there.
So you were attracted to him then?
Yes.
And you wanted this sort of activity to continue, right?
What kind of activity?
Sexual activity.
Ah, shut up. You know what you-
Well, I didn't stop it.
Well, when you say you didn't stop it, it just sounds, again, like you're saying it was all him and not you, right?
No, it takes two to tango.
That's right, and it was a mutual activity. wasn't
Takes two to tango. She knows.
it? See what you have to say about that.
Takes two to tango, man.
Move for the admission of Exhibit 486.
No objection, Your Honor.
Did you say 486?
Yes, ma'am.
486 is in.
I hate that shit. Man. Yes. Yes. Hurry up, Juan. I'm getting tired here. I gotta have dinner.
Like if you're moving away and you're saying you want to end this unhealthy relationship, and yet A, you're still making plans to get together and travel, and B, you're still showing up for
Sex.
sex.
Yeah, it was hard to tell Travis no. He would call me at night, and we would have long conversations, and he would tell me the things that he would like to see happen when he came up to visit me, to put it in a G-rated manner, and the things that he wanted to do as far as traveling and where we would go and what we would do. And then it wasn't like I wasn't the agenda for him coming up, but that was a big part of it. He
He was coming for to hit that ass.
there and then come all the way back down.
Every time he came to hit that
It
ass.
eventually became.
Look at the family. They're like,
Was it
what?
mutual?
It was always mutual. Yeah.
Thank you. At least you told the truth before. You're looking at that. Looking, what a freak.
You did indicate there that it was always mutual, right?
That's correct.
So that means, for example, that when you and he were involved the very first time, that it was mutual, right?
Yes, it was.
And when you were involved any time after that, it was also mutual, right?
I believe it was.
So when you tell us that he made you, that you felt like a used piece of toilet paper, Well, you're sort of telling us that at that point that it wasn't mutual, that somebody was taking more than they were giving,
That's not true.
No, it was still mutual at that point.
even though you felt that way. You can still say that it was a mutual kind of thing.
Yes,
right?
when I told him to stop, he did.
Pardon?
When I told him to stop, he did.
So anytime that you would ask him to stop, he would stop, right?
Except the one time in May 2007.
But in the statement that we just heard in Exhibit 486, you did indicate that it was always mutual, right?
Yes,
You never indicated that there was ever a problem, right?
that's right.
Ma'am, one of the things that we know is that there was this text message that you received while you were at the Grove. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
And this was sometime in November of 2006, right?
that's right.
And this is what you told us that you were at some sort of meeting or something at a restaurant, right?
We were first at a Super Saturday, and then a group of friends and I, business associates, we all went to a restaurant.
What was the name of the restaurant?
I don't remember.
What was the name of the city?
Anaheim.
And you were in Anaheim, and you were at this restaurant. Who else was sitting there?
Michelle was sitting across from me. I think Lenore was there. I was still kind of new, so I don't remember all the names, but I think my friend Jared was sitting to my left. And, I mean, I can picture faces, but I don't remember their names. There was a whole long table of people.
And you received this text message, right?
Yes,
And at that time, you indicated to us that you had a flip-top phone, right?
that's right.
And basically, when you receive a text message, what would be required is for you to open the phone to take a look at it, right?
Yes,
And in addition, you would have to take an extra step, right?
yes,
You would have to take a step to take a look at the text message, right?
yes,
And you said that you were somewhat unawares of what was in that that you were unaware of what was in that text message, right?
yes,
And that you went ahead and that you opened it, right?
yes.
Did anybody see it?
Well, I don't know if Jared saw it. I don't think he did. I flipped it
Yeah.
shut real quick and then looked around to make sure nobody was looking.
Because you were able to recognize what it was, right?
Yes,
And you found it offensive, right?
not at all, actually.
So you thought it was okay then?
Yes,
And so when you were telling us about how it was that you received this, you didn't mean to tell us that you were offended by it, right?
no, I was not offended.
And in fact, it was something that you liked, right?
I did like it, yeah.
And it was something that he was showing you attention, and so looking at it was something that for whatever reason, at least indicated there was a relationship, a partial relationship there forming.
Oh, yeah, shit up, man. All right. Woo, that shit's over. All right, so we'll meet tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed it. Please write a comment there or follow, man. Help me out here, both this channel. Thank you. Until we meet next time, this is Omar. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's been a long day. All right, we'll meet next time, all right? Take it easy. Yeah.